Here tonight. And our first thing on the agenda would be our Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
How you doing today, sir? This is my battalion command sergeant major for my battalion. I just wanted to have him before we got into our school year here. And so this is Howard Castle. Today is his birthday as well, so we want to wish him happy birthday while we're here. I'll let him tell you a little bit about himself and what he thinks of our program.
I really got much to say about myself. The program's moving along pretty good this year, a little bit more than what it has in the past. From what I can tell you, Sergeant Carroll here has done pretty good. So, moving along pretty good in the program.
So you're saying we should keep Sergeant Carroll? Is it?
Is he a keeper?
Is he a keeper?
For the most part.
So you're a senior this year?
Junior.
A junior, okay. What are you interested in? You'll share with the board what your interests are after you go through next year as senior?
You mean plans on after I graduate?
Yes.
Plan on going active duty Army.
I'd just like to say I've heard a lot of good things about the ROTC program. Of course, your numbers are going to be up next year. You're looking at another instructor, so I think. So, you bring back your final little soldier. So, I'm proud of you.
Everything goes well with the promise with the instructor. We should hear back from another NCO by the end of this week. So we'll know then. And that's looking very promising. So
That's great.
he had one more interview to go to, and I don't think he's going to get that one. But that's where his wife wanted him to go. So happy wife, happy life.
And you just went through, you had your first military ball?
We did. It was a great time. We were at the Ramada down in Paintsville, had a total of 101 attendees, including Dr. Lanny, and we had our guest speaker was from the 11th Aviation at Fort Knox, Kentucky. So looking forward to getting Lieutenant Colonel Odom and some of the personnel that we have over at 11th Aviation that I used to be a part of to come over and try to get a lot more interest in our aerospace program through them as well. Maybe some orientation flights and demonstrations they can do with Black Hawk helicopters and stuff to come over.
Thank you, and happy birthday to you.
Our next item on the agenda is our moment of silence, and I'd ask that you remember the Hinkle family. Thank you. And as we move on, the next item is our student spotlight.
Our first group of students, and we have, board, we have so many students doing so many good things, especially at the end of the year, competitions and just throughout, not just locally, but in the region and in the state as well. And we're trying to get in as many recognitions as we possibly can because we want to get that done before the school semester is over and the school year is over. But we have several of our students here tonight to be recognized, and many others that have gone through competitions and have won at the state and even going on to compete at the national level. You'll hear a lot more about those in the coming weeks, that how we can support them as a board as they go on to the next level, just as we have done in previous years. So for those students who are not here tonight, we'll pick them up next board meeting as well. Ms. Goble, could you come on up? Nothing like getting tapped. All right. So the first group of folks we want to recognize tonight is for our HOSA Bowl, and that is the Health, Occupation, and
Students of America.
Students of America. Thank you very much. And the students that we want to recognize, and Ms. Goebel's going to help me out here. These students are, when it says third, third,
Third, yeah.
okay, in the HOSA. Do you want to explain that before we show or recognize
What
the
HOSA
students?
is?
Yeah.
Okay, Health Occupation Students of America is health-based students that we have at the ATC. They can compete in medical-based sciences, medical terminology, medical math, pharmacology, nurse aid, different things like that. Well, this year was the first year we've ever had a HOSA Bowl, which is like a quick recall team, but it encompasses all of the events. So you have to kind of be able to answer questions across the board for everything, including parliamentary procedure and things like that. So we actually went down with the first time, so, which was nerve-wracking because, I've never had a quick recall team. So we go down there and we actually place third. So that's who the third place winners are on that. And then I have a student place third in pharmacology and another one in dental sciences. And I don't even teach dental sciences. This kid went above and beyond class to take her time and study as well. And I don't, also I have another student with human growth and development that went beyond. I touch on it, but I don't really teach anatomy is the body and how it works. We don't really cover, from birth all the way up to death. And we touch on it, but not a whole lot. And I had another student as well. She went above and beyond to place. So it's competitive. I think this was the biggest conference they had. So there's 1,200 students without any, without counting everybody else, just the students down there. It's the largest health occupation students turnout, and they competed against kids across the state. So, it was a good deal. That's pretty good for the kids that we've, actually excellent for the kids that we've had placed. And I want to give them the opportunity to take them to nationals because that HOSA Bowl team, as well as the other kids, have worked really hard. And, we have to fundraise to get them to go. And we're looking at, right now, $6,700 to get them there because it's in Anaheim. That's a long distance to cover, and so we're working toward it.
Wants to chaperone.
Huh?
He wants to chaperone.
Oh, you want to go? Okay, thank you.
Where was your state meet held?
It's held in Louisville.
Okay.
Okay, how many schools? You say third place out of?
Oh my gosh,
Probably
Martha.
about 40, I would say at least.
Lord, there's schools.
Oh,
No, there's
probably
hundreds.
50, yeah.
Yeah, I'd say there's counties, 50 counties.
Well,
Well,
that's
those
true,
kids,
because there's 54 ATCs and
Yeah,
and
there's
within
more.
the high school. So
Yeah.
you're probably right about 100 schools.
yeah,
Right.
so.
So you figured, that's real good.
Well, just to even get in the HOSA Bowl contest, every kid has to take an exam individually, and they compile the scores as a total before they can even compete, because they do a huge elimination before they even get down there. So there was only 16 teams kept across the state to even to do the HOSA Bowl. So these kids had to actually score individually before they could even qualify for that event.
That's great.
So,
Folks, okay, this is the certificate to recognize these students that I'll call up in just a moment. Martin County School Student Spotlight awarded to the students that are named for exemplifying the value of a Martin County education. We're so very proud of each one of them. And the first student up, and I want to mention for what category, and this category is third place in HOSA Bowl, Carla Mullins.
she's not here this evening. She's competing in the softball tournament.
Jordan Justice. Congratulations. And Allison Booth, and she got third in the HOSA Bowl and third in pharmacology. Very good, congratulations.
Okay, and I just asked one question. Would you care to, get all these kids together and have pose for a shot with the thing, with my report?
Ben Fitch. Congratulations, good work. And what'd you say, HGD? Human Growth and Development, fourth place, Brooke Dodds. And for dental terminology, Haley Evans. We're going to get you a certificate. But you can hold this one, just don't show the name.
Good. So y'all squeeze in real tight. Ronnie, get it.
Yeah, I can get it.
Yeah.
And on behalf of us, we were also wondering if, to help support us to California, we're not asking you to pay for the whole way, because we will work for it, because we've already worked so hard to get there. But we was wondering if maybe you could just pitch in, like maybe plane tickets or.
I tell you what, you're a good negotiator.
Thank you.
I'll get, Ms. Cole and I have already discussed this along with Ms. Williams, and we will be coming back to the board. They know this. So.
Okay.
Not you, thanks, Sal. Okay, the next students we will recognize. I don't think they're here. The Roger Scholar. It's Lincoln Newsom. She's the Roger Scholar. I think she's playing softball. She's in the game. Okay. And also we will recognize Kobe Muncie. Is he here? Okay. He is the second, and I think I've already shared with the board, second selectee to the Craft Academy. And the Craft Academy is built upon an in-resident student status at Orange State University. It's on campus for 2 years. As an entering junior, they'll finish their high school diploma down there, and also they'll have an associate's at the end of that at least an associate's at the end of that 2 years. And we've had 2 selectees for this inaugural class of the Craft Academy at Morgan State University. So we're very proud of those 2 students, and we're already working on those for next year. The next group of students I'd like to recognize are from Martin County Middle School. So I saw Mr. Haney somewhere. Can you come up here and help me out with this? Come on up. Yes.
The group of kids that we're getting ready to give their rewards to are the Rogers Explorer. These kids, they have to go through a process of an application process. They do a resume of sorts. They also have to get references. They do an essay, and it's a pretty extenuating circumstance. We're supposed to have only had 2 at Martin County Middle School that received this, but we actually received 4 this year, and how we called on that to kind of check and see how that happens. And they said that they go with the top scores, and if you move somebody out from another district, you move somebody out. So Martin County Middle School actually received 4 students going, and they got to put a first place college and a second place college of their choice, like Moorhead, Pikeville, and we have, I think, 3 that are going to Pikeville University this summer, and 1, I believe, they can correct me, they're here if I'm telling this wrong, 1 going to Moorhead this summer. And they stay for 3 nights, 4 days while they're there, and they have a pretty a good experience academically, and they work in all the different areas. It's a huge honor, an absolute huge honor. You have to have great grades, great attendance, community service, you have to do well on your test, good social behavior, recommendations, everything's great. And these are some elite kids that are coming forth here in just a little bit. Very proud of them, each one of them.
First one, Callie Mullins.
This one's going to Moorhead, I believe, right?
Did you take all your sports food? You want to recognize your father?
Putting you on the spot, right?
Allison Horn.
And the next three are all going to Lockwood.
Madison Haney. And Katie Murphy.
Congratulations.
Picture of those Rogers.
Open the red house.
The next ones are for SCCLA. We actually had a group of students who went to Louisville and they competed at the state level in FCCLA, and that's Future Career and Consumer Leaders of America. It was a phenomenal experience. I told a lot of people that I believe every administrator ought to have to go to these state and national conventions at least once to just see what it's all about, because the leadership opportunity that these kids were able to exhibit, it's phenomenal. It definitely prepares great leaders. And they have all different categories that they go and they compete in. And not only that, but we have one who's not being represented here who is even working toward being one of the state representatives that will actually be a spokesperson for the state of Kentucky. And they travel, all over the world being representatives. These kids went to Louisville and they did a absolutely phenomenal job. And I took it away from them before you could actually call the first name out. The first one up is Josie Howard. If you could come on forward at this time. And the category's slipping my mind. If it slips yours and mine. What? Community service project. And theirs was the community service project. And Bethany Crumb. They received a third place finish in the state, and they competed against all high school students. So to receive a third place finish in the state is absolutely phenomenal. So great job, guys.
Okay, hold on just a second. Now, which one of you would like to recognize Mr. Haney? Did he go to Louisville with you? Would you like to share with the audience and the board why Mr. Haney went with you?
He got Administrator of the Year award.
Folks, it's brilliant.
I'll reward you tomorrow, Anthony.
It's really great recognition when our students get recognized in our district and beyond our borders in the state and on a national level. But it's also just important as those leaders who are in positions to create those opportunities and pathways to success. It doesn't happen by accident. It takes a lot of hard work, a lot of collaboration, and a lot of leadership, and a lot of hours to make sure that our kids have the opportunity to demonstrate their skills and their talents beyond our borders. And we have a great deal of talent and a great deal of skill. And it's our responsibility, and Brent Haney is great at this, of creating pathways of success. There's not a person in this room or in this community or in any community really that do not want or that want to see their kids fail. We want to see our kids succeed. But rather than just sit back and go, okay, we want them to succeed. As parents, we want our children to succeed. Communities want their children to succeed. But it takes a tremendous amount of effort together as a community to create the pathways to put our kids on, because it doesn't happen by accident. It happens with intentional effort and planning to make sure that our kids are prepared for the skills that are needed not just today, but in the future. And when we're in the middle school, especially elementary, those jobs, some of them don't even exist yet. So it takes a tremendous amount of vision and creativity and innovation to make sure that our kids are on the cusp or the cutting edge of technology and their ability to compete not only on the state level, national level, but to compete at a global level, whether that be in the STEM content areas such as science, technology, engineering, mathematics, but also in our language arts and our humanity areas as well. We want our kids to be prepared and show off their stuff when they leave Martin County and represent our community. So Brent does a tremendous job over there. He's supported and he has a great staff for the FCCLA, and this is a recognition on a state level that is richly deserved. He does a great job.
Real quick story, and I won't tell all the stories, Anthony, so I'm not telling the one you're worried about right now, but we sat down at the table and they had all the silverware, you know, all the nice, and it was a very formal setting. And they set you down and the first conversation was, which fork do I use? So, you know, it is a great experience for them. I mean, they had a phenomenal time. And we thank you guys for helping us in the endeavors as well, each of you.
Thank you, Brent. We have Mr. Markham. Michael Markham.
He's got a liaison out here.
Does he? He's got a representative out here.
That's what I'm talking about, that's fine.
You put him up there.
How are you doing?
Beta Club.
Come over here.
Oh, yes. Last month, our junior Beta Club, 4th and 5th graders attended the the Kentucky State Beta Conference in Louisville. And we took approximately 17 kids and we competed in arts and crafts and building a tower with straws and like a quick recall test competition, and we did some individual testing too. And we did well for our first trip. We learned a lot. But one of our students, Colin Horn, placed 3rd in science, math. And we are so proud of him, and he will be going to Nashville in June to compete at the National Junior Beta Convention. So we're hoping we can continue this and work with our middle school, because it's 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th is junior beta. So we learned a lot, and we need to kind of work together as an elementary school with our middle school if we're going to continue doing the Beta Club.
Yes. Very good. All right, Colin, come on. You want to recognize your father?
Yeah, and I want to thank my dad for helping me all the way. He's always done that for me.
It's quite impressive. As I understand, Colin has some outstanding assessment scores as well, so we're very proud of him. Mr. Quillen?
Yes.
Your representative coaches?
Oh, yeah, first.
Tell the coaches to come on up here. Share with the audience and the board.
All right, the reason, yeah, come on up, line up. The reason why we're here is our academic team placed 2nd place in the regional tournament. Now, a lot of different schools were involved in that regional tournament. It's a very high honor that we're very proud of these kids. There were about 12 of them, and a few of them made it here. But we're very proud of our coaches also. They did a tremendous job. A couple of them without pay, they just do it because they want these kids to be better. So that's something we're very proud of. And on April 28th, we've actually been invited to Pikeville College, the Booth Auditorium, for a present, well, I don't know, they're going to present awards, and we get to go there. We were invited to that. If we get to go, we're going to try to go to that also. So very distinguished thing for these kids. So right now I'm going to, yeah, that was, hey. We're very proud of it. And these guys are distinguished kids also. So first of all, the staff spotlight, Mary Horn. Lois Sloan. Rita Mills.
coaching is hours upon hours upon hours. It never ends. And so we're, like I said, very proud. And Chastity Crum, who is not here, she helped out a lot also. So we're also very proud of Chastity. And now we have students. Do we have any student ones?
No, just
Coaches only.
Coaches only?
But we'll get those.
Okay, we got student ones also coming up, but,
Yes, absolutely.
I'd like to, anyway, I'll get out of the way there so y'all can take a picture of them.
Tell us who they are.
Go ahead.
Terry, you're the principal, you should get in the shop. It's your school.
Yeah, it's my school. Introduce them all. All right, she's gonna introduce all the kids here.
First, we'll start with Stephen Jordan. He was part of the FPS. They were first in district and second in regional. That's Tamara Workman. She was fifth in our humanities district. She was also on the quick recall, which came in fourth. Alana Maynard, she was our composition. She was fifth in the district. She was also on FPS. Then we have Ethan Colgrove. He was social studies, first in social studies district and regional, math, second and fifth. He was also on quick recall. Then we have Kylie Murphy, who was fifth place science district.
All right, thanks, guys. Thank y'all for having us. It's always a pleasure. Always a
Our community partner for this month that we want to recognize is the Aerospace Partnership that we have with Big Sandy. We're not able to have a representative here tonight. Greg Cox was going to come down, but he wasn't able to make it the last minute. But we certainly appreciate their partnership, stepping forward to work with our kids in our aviation, our aerospace, our Air and Space Academy. We're going to be going up there in a couple of weeks, I believe. We're taking our 8th graders and 9th graders up there to Big Sandy Airport, where they'll be taking a tour of the hangars and also the aircraft that are available up there. Our training's going to be Brent was about this.
Our next item is the consent agenda. So first was discussion and possible action on March 11, 2015 board minutes, March 3rd, 2015 board minutes, and April 1st, 2015 board minutes. Do we have any discussion on that?
Yeah, the April the 1st board minutes, I reviewed it. They don't properly reflect what we discussed, so I can't vote for them. There were some things on hiring procedure. There were some things that were discussed that are not in the minutes. And the problem with the minutes is, Mr. Schmidt can correct me if I'm wrong, the board can only speak for its minutes. If we have a matter to say a year from now where, such and such come up and would say, well, you said this on such and such date, if it's not reflected in the minutes, it didn't happen. So.
Well, the action that the board takes must be reflected in the minutes. So it is true that legally the board speaks to its minutes. Sometimes if there's an extended discussion as to what the minutes of the meeting are, that's why it's recorded, and presumably those recordings are kept. But it is true that the board speaks only through its minutes.
Yeah. There were two separate issues. There was an issue on the hiring practice that wasn't raised some questions and it wasn't addressed in the minutes. So my recommendation, my recommendation is not to approve the April the 1st special meeting, the minutes of that meeting.
I just want to make a comment there. It was a special call board meeting, and the hiring practices issue was not on the agenda. So there was no action taken on any discussions about hiring practices. Since it was a special call board meeting, it could not be discussed.
What could not be discussed?
Hiring practices.
The hiring practice was discussed, and it was part of the minutes of the meeting in the board establishing a position. It's my contention that, as we discussed here, that the position that we created, the board created, was unneeded because of someone's availability to have filled that slot without the creation of the job. And that was discussed in the meeting. We created the job, and the position that, and if everyone will recall that, is that there was the issue was brought up as far as hiring. The issue was brought out, and it's not dabbling in personnel, and I would like, for Mr. Smith to correct me if I'm wrong. I have no interest in knowing who was hired for what. I do have an interest when I'm being asked to create a job, when, as a board member, when the creation of that job is the board's responsibility. And the question that I asked, the question that was asked was, and you were evasive, I guess, for lack of a better term, is had you met with the candidate that the principal recommended? I mean, we had a roughly about a 6 weeks to 2 month period where, after the site base had interviewed the candidates, and we assumed that a recommendation was made, and we assume, as a board member, I have to assume if a recommendation was made, that that person could have filled a slot that already existed, since the school itself did not come to us and request that a job be created. And it was my, if you remember, there was some bantering back and forth where you said that you were not obligated to honor a principal's recommendation, and my argument was that you were basically your rubber stamp, that you had to honor the principal's recommendation, barring some documented reason, like the guy being an axe murderer, or finding out that he did not have the qualification. I just asked a simple question: did you meet with the candidate that the principal recommended for the position? You wouldn't answer. Finally, you said, well, you met with all, well, wait a minute. Finally, you said that you met with all four. Okay, that's my position, is that I'm being asked to create a job, not knowing if that job is needed. I'm not dabbling in personnel. I just want to make sure, okay, could this guy fill the slot before you don't have to create a job? Here's the problem that I have. When you create a job, you have a trickle effect to everything else that's needed at the school. If you take and you create a $50,000 or $60,000 a year job, then basically that affects the other requests. I mean, all these schools have got their hands out for money, and we want to meet all those things. And if we can fill a slot without creating a job, I would much rather do that. And that was the thing. You said that you were not obligated to honor the principal's recommendation for the job. And you said that you did not have to sign off on it. That was your response to the question. And the minutes don't reflect this. The minutes don't reflect the discussion, because my position is that you were obligated, and you told the board that you weren't obligated. Now, since our board attorney's here, and he wasn't here at that meeting, Your advice was one thing, my advice was another. He can bring us up to date. What is the hiring procedure at a school level allocation to fill a school level position? What happens?
Well, let me first say.
No,
in
let me ask.
Wait a minute, you're making some allegations here that I want to correct the record and respond to. One, the superintendent is the hiring authority, and we can go back to the audio recording of the meeting. There was only one item for discussion and action other than calling the meeting and adjourning. It had nothing to do with hiring practices.
Yes,
So
it did.
you were asked about the board was asked to create an allocation.
Create an allocation for a position that we were unsure of
And that was
not needed.
and you voted no, as the record reflects, and no one asked why. You can vote no and not give any reason whatsoever. But this board allocated a position. Hiring practices, as I shared in the meeting, was not on the agenda to be discussed, but we could add that to any agenda and discuss.
It's not the thing of hiring practice. It's not that was on the agenda. You're attempting to split hairs. My position, being asked to create a job, is that job needed? Or are you just wanting to create a job? Show me where a job is needed. And in this case, there was a certain amount of time that passed where we have to assume, because the interview process went through, where a candidate was recommended. You wouldn't even...
How would you know that?
Okay, how do I know this? They hired for, the job was advertised. Okay, you can say, how do I know this? Well, we had spring football.
How would you know that the candidate was interviewed? Or any candidate was interviewed other than the
They
one
took
that was
applications. They took applications. And
Can
of
I
course,
speak?
No, that's up to the chairman, that's not mine. I'm saying this, that it was in the paper, and I know you said you didn't put any stock in the paper, that's all right. That's all right.
No, I question how the paper knew.
Well, here's the thing about it. We know when the interviewing process is going on.
How do you know?
Huh?
How do you know?
Okay, so in other words, you're saying that nobody, that they didn't advertise?
I'm just asking, how do you know?
I know.
How do you know? Who was interviewed, when, and what certification they had?
Well, here's the thing about it. I guess I don't know. I guess the thing about it is that we needed a football coach, and they advertised for the football coach position, and I guess maybe the school site-based drug its feet for what, 3 or 4 months? Took applications. We know that it's not a big secret. I mean, it's not a big thing. How do I know? I know simply because football season, the spring football that they have every year was coming upon us, and I know from reading the stories that there was they wanted to get that position filled prior to the beginning of the spring football season. So it was just an obvious thing. I'm thinking, what's going on here? I mean, it's just a very, very simple thing just to ask you, did the site base interview these candidates for the job? Did they make a recommendation to hire? And you could say, well, that's dabbling in personnel. That's not dabbling in personnel if the board is being asked to create a position, when the school itself did not make that request. The school itself didn't make, I mean, can you follow my reasoning, Mr. Schmidt? We can create a, district allocation. District allocation for what? Is it a school level allocation? If it's a school level allocation, the principal, the site-based hires. If it's the district-wide allocation, the superintendent hires. I mean, this board just won back its capacity to govern the school district. That's all I'm trying to do, is govern the school district, make sure that everything's on the up and up. I wanted to make sure that we didn't need the job that was created. And the urgency that was presented to us, the urgency in creating this job, was we gotta have a coach. We had to have a coach. Okay, could we have had, I believe that we could have had a coach long before that. I mean, you said that you met with all 4 applicants. You freely admitted that. And I
Met
think
them all. Yes, I met them all.
Huh?
I met them all.
Okay. And obviously, well, okay, go ahead.
Could I interject something here? It seems that the wording of the motion on the minutes before that meeting, didn't it have a, it was a, no question about it, we were creating a position. Now, the way this reads, sir, is, I look here and I have beside my name a no. Well, if anyone was here, and if the board, my fellow board members will remember, I said I was not against a football coach. I said I was not against the program. I said I was against creating a job. A job. The way it's worded here, discussion and possible action of personnel district allocation. Does that mean a job?
District allocation, one district allocation.
So if I looked up job in the thesaurus, one of my synonyms would be allocation.
I'm not sure about that. I know allocation in public schools.
Sir, all I want is that, you know, when I see myself voting no, I want to know, I mean, I want it to be reflect what I voted no about. In fact, you know, that's what that will be on the recording. But
What would you like it to say?
we were hiring you. I thought I was asked to hire someone who you wouldn't say who it was because I asked, and to create a position for that person. Is that what I was asked to do?
No, sir. You were asked, as the agenda, to create a position, an allocation. You weren't asked to hire anyone. You were asked to create an allocation.
So that,
That's it.
so that you could hire the coach.
I believe the minutes would reflect the discussion is that so that we needed that allocation to hire this particular individual.
You said that this particular individual was certified in this. Of course, my argument against it was this. If the school had made a recommendation for a candidate that could fill a slot that already existed at the school,
Or any other school.
then there would be no reason to create a job.
Yes, there was plenty of reason, yes, sir, and the dialogue between myself and as your, I don't know, I wouldn't say insinuating, I'm just saying that there's some question out there whether I have personally undermined the site base, which is just not the case. That was not part of the discussion. It wasn't.
Well, you said that you did,
Well,
no,
let me
you
finish.
said you were not required to even honor the principle of the site.
Well, let me finish here.
Okay.
There was constant and consistent dialogue between myself and the principal, who is the person who makes the recommendation from the school after consultation with the site base. So after consultation with the site base, the interviewing process, the principal will recommend to the superintendent in any school district for the recommendation for the hire. The hiring authority in every public school district in the state of Kentucky is the superintendent. That person is not employed, they're not hired until that person signs off for the hiring and submits a contract for them to enter into. I am not required, it's, the law states binding, and we talked about this on the minutes the other day, although it wasn't on the agenda for discussion, the hiring practices, but we did touch upon as the superintendent, is the person who completes the hiring process. If there are other circumstances of a candidate that are recommended to me, I can decline to hire that person. And then there are steps that would be taken in the instance that that would occur between a superintendent and a principal who's representing the school. But in this particular instance, and I would be happy to enter into a closed session with myself, the board, Mike, if he feels that this is not dabbling into personnel and discussing how that person was hired, if necessary, or which person was hired.
Well, in the instance that you gave, that you said, and you said that you were not under any circumstances obligated to honor the principal's recommended candidate, and that you did not have to give a reason for doing so. Is that correct?
Well, we can go back to the tape, but it certainly wasn't part of the agenda item. That wasn't on the discussion. We could go back and look at it, but let me say once again that the recommendation from the principal is binding on the superintendent. Those are the words I believe the KRS uses. I'm not going to ask legal to
That's not what you
research
said,
that.
though.
Well, again, I can decline to complete the hiring process, and there's got to be good reason for that. That's what I'm saying. I can decline to sign and hire someone just because a principal recommends the hiring of an individual into their building. It's that person is binding on the superintendent, and if the superintendent cannot justify or provide evidence of why that person should not be in consultation with the principal, then I'm going to hire them.
But you said you did not have to give a reason for not doing so. That was your exact words. Do you all remember that? That I don't have to hire them, and I do not have to give a reason for doing so. Is that correct?
It may be to the board. If I said it was to the board, I don't have to give a reason to the board.
That's splitting hairs. You said you don't have to give a reason. You don't have to give a reason for declining a candidate.
To the board.
That's, okay.
In this instance.
So basically what you mean is you can hire who you want to the hell with, or what? Forgive me, Lord, I didn't mean to say that.
Really?
Okay, that's all right. I don't have to follow a principal's recommendation.
The superintendent is the person in the district, in a public school district, who completes the hiring process. And once that recommendation is offered by the principal, it is binding on the superintendent unless the superintendent has information that this person cannot be hired. Now, again, I will step out on the limb and say, in this particular case, that there was consistent and constant communication throughout the entire process of hiring this individual that we finally got to. So I don't know what to say beyond that. The agenda was, will the board allocate a district position for this person? And the board voted yes, 3-2.
And my position, of course, was that case is not in dabbling in personnel, was finding out if the position was needed, if another candidate could have filled that job without any kind of additional cost to the board. That's it. That was my, that's not dabbling in personnel. That's if a candidate that was recommended by the principal could have filled an existing slot at the school without creation of a new job, then that's certainly something that the board needs to know, because we're the one that create the jobs. You know, this board has gotten in a lot of trouble in the past for the creation of jobs and salaries and things that are not needed. We just recently won back our capacity to govern, and I don't want to fall back into that practice.
Have you read the diagnostic report that was given, Mr. Ball?
No, I haven't.
I would suggest that you read the diagnostic report. I can
read
read
a lot of discussion.
excerpts if you would like.
I just got it. No, I don't
We
need
have that available.
I don't need that. I'm not going to vote. I will not be.
I'd just like to say one thing as far as the diagnostic, which I think we can go into at a later time, but it blistered, and it shouldn't be no reflection on Nikki and Lois because they weren't here. And you don't fall in this category, but we got a blistering review or evaluation, that we were, and I state, and I take it personally, that we are a hindrance and a detriment to the educational process of Martin County is what the diagnostic review stated. Not only that, but we had no concern for performance or achievement level of students. So that's what the diagnostic review said about the Board of Education. And further, I appreciate our administrators, our teachers, and our students, as far as getting the leadership capacity back, had nothing to do with us.
Why would you think that had something to do
Read
with
the
that?
report. I read it, and it's an insult to me. I take it personally, and like I said, and I told Miss Spangler, you know, it's a blistering, it's a disturbing, it's disappointing and discouraging to me.
Well,
And like I said,
I've been a board member 2 years, and I've learned a lot in the past 2 years. So I could say
you'll learn more when you read that report.
Okay.
Okay, anytime there is a job created, is it always described as district allocation? Or would it be, because it's for the high school football coach, would it be school-based, or how do they do it?
The coaching position is a school-based position. So that's a situation where the principal, after consulting with the site-based council, would make a recommendation as to a hire. The position, at least the meeting before, where there was an issue, was a special education position, which apparently is a district-wide position, which the school, the principal, and the site-based council have no authority over one way or the other. So, as I understood it at the time, the intent was to hire, maybe I'm going beyond your question, hire a football coach was to be hired. And the football coach would teach in addition to coaching football, and that the special education position was being created so that the coach could be hired so he'd have something else to do. The principal recommends, in essence, however you want to call it, the superintendent creates the hiring process. The superintendent is required to employ that person unless one of several circumstances exists. And one of those would be if the superintendent has documented evidence that the person who is recommended and who is otherwise qualified is not suitable for the position. Another might be if and I wasn't there, but if a position is posted, and that position has with it a salary. The board adopts a salary schedule. They don't hire or pay individual employees. But if a person said, I'm interested with this job, I interview with the principal, but I want more money than the position will pay, or I want other benefits that the position as posted doesn't provide, then the superintendent's not required to hire, because you would have to, the person who has applied and is recommended is asking for more than the position provides. He's making a counteroffer, or she is, and absent, the superintendent has no ability to provide more than the job that the board has already created to provide. So there's nothing that he or the principal can do. I don't know, I mean, I've heard, maybe that was one of the instances in this case, I have no personal knowledge, but under those circumstances, the superintendent would not be required to hire the coach or any school-based person. But as far as the creation of this job, if you said, well, I want a job that I ask the board to create an allocation. That's an allocation in school terminology, that's a position, for a special education teacher, okay? And it gives a purpose, and the purpose is because we're going to hire somebody who will fit in this slot. Then I thought, at least at the meeting where there wasn't proper notice given, that was what was done. And so the board, whatever happened on April 1st, the minutes would reflect the motion to create the position. There might be a discussion, and then the minutes would reflect what action was taken and the vote. And the board could go through the tape if it wanted to and go through the whole discussion. That's not usually the case, but I've seen times when that is the case. So it's up to you if the motion before the board is to either vote to adopt the minutes as drafted or to ask that they be redrafted, then that's what's before you, as I understand it right now.
Okay, when we talked about this, Ms. James gave a speech about how there would be more at the high school. We got numbers for next year at the high school. So I'm just wondering why this was mentioned as district allocation and not, I mean, I'm just asking,
Well, I
is
think
that normal?
because typically special education teachers are transferred from one school to another, and sometimes, at least in my experience legally, and I've been through some litigation on this, when sometimes kids will come in and they ought to be tested in advance, but they're not, or you'll have other people transfer. So it may be even up into September, long after a teacher can be reassigned from one school to another. There'll be changes will need to be made, and special ed teachers will have to be moved from school to school. And many districts have those people in that category as district personnel as opposed to assigned to a specific school. Even if they're assigned to a specific school, there is a section in Kentucky law by which you can transfer teachers after the date to meet those special requirements, but it's more difficult. It can be more difficult to do that. So many districts have special ed teachers as a district-wide teacher, or one that's basically a board allocated.
Well, to clear the confusion, in the future, instead of having personnel district allocation with no explanation on it, I mean, you could have district allocation, and if you just approved it without knowing any of the specifics, I mean, the superintendent could have the authority to go out here and hire an assistant superintendent. If we just created that.
He could hire for any vacant position.
Yeah, well, if we're.
That's why I always recommended, once you do your allocations, abolish all unfilled positions.
Well, my thing is if you ask for personnel and you have district allocation, that you specify either school level, which means that it runs through the site-based council, or district-wide, which I understand that special ed teachers would fall in that category. From what I've asked special ed teachers here in the past, that they've always worked with the principals and the councils and things like that, even though the superintendent had authority to hire them without any kind of consultation. But in the past, they've done that. They've worked with schools. They've involved the principals and the site-based councils, although the superintendent wouldn't have to. I think it'd probably be wise to do that. I mean, you get to give the schools some level of participation in that, and I would think it'd be wise to give the schools the choice of who to hire, because each year when we get these test scores in and we get their, the principals are the ones that stand before the board and give account. It's not, it's not the superintendent. It's the principals. They have to come up here. Why is your school failing? Well, I think that they should have, I think if you give them the authority to hire their own people. I mean, they're not required to listen to the council.
What happened in this case?
Huh?
That's exactly what happened in this case, and that is certainly not practice.
Well,
even though it's a district allocation, we involve.
But you did not say anything like that in the meeting. You refused to even say that you met with anybody.
No, sir, I told you in that meeting that I met with all four.
He said he met with all four.
Yeah, but it was like pulling teeth. You wouldn't even say that you met with anybody.
No, you asked about who I was interviewing.
No. I asked you if you met with the candidate recommended by the site-based council. Go ahead.
Counselor, to change directions, one moment. I've got a question for you. Since we're talking about the April 1st minute, correct? And we had to have that.
I haven't seen the minutes, so you got to come and see what they say.
Okay, we had to have that meeting because the March 30th meeting was illegal because the press had not been notified. Now, my question to you, sir, is that there is only one item besides, we're called to order and adjournment on the April 1 meeting, which if we were making up for the March 30th illegal meeting, there are 2 items on it. My question, Counselor, is why was there not another business item, order number 1113, that was on the March 30th? Why was it not seen again on the April 1st? I'm just really curious.
I mean, I don't have any idea. What, can I see 113?
So there was a motion made.
I don't know.
There was action taken.
I couldn't answer why, anyway.
I'm sorry, I should have given you those.
Oh, okay, I understand.
Yeah.
1113 is the homeschool issue.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, that's probably a question that maybe is better addressed by the chair than by me. But if this meeting, whatever happened on the 30th, all right, that meeting, apparently notice was not given to the local newspaper. And so the action at that meeting, any affirmative action would not have been valid. The action on the homeschool situation at that meeting was merely to affirm, as my understanding, what the law already was, and that is that the homeschool students didn't have the legal right to participate absent action by the board to the contrary. And so that situation was left as it was, and the issue on the position then comes up as action that was taken but basically could not be fulfilled or the job filled because the job wasn't created. But even if that wasn't the case, the chairman on a special meeting or 3 board members asking the chairman can basically schedule an item to be put on the agenda. And this was apparently called 24 hours or close to 24 hours prior to the meeting. The chairman has the sole ability to call the meeting and set the agenda item or approve the agenda item. And my assumption is that's what was done.
So that order number 1113 concerning homeschool students participating in extracurricular activity did not have to be reaffirmed.
It didn't have to be reaffirmed because in reality they didn't have the authority to do it anyway.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. I know there was probably some thought or some interest by one of our board members in maybe bringing that up again. And I spoke to somebody about that, and my opinion was it did need to be brought up again because they were not, it became apparent that when these homeschool students were participating, that school administrators at the school level were unaware of the fact that that was a board decision and not their decision. And therefore, you didn't need anything else. Now they know they can't do it without board approval, and so it wasn't necessary to call it. The board chair could have called it up again, but it was probably an unnecessary act.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So would you like the minutes amended on the 1st?
I would like to have the amendments, amended on the 1st.
What would you like to see it read?
I would like to reflect what happened in the meeting, in the sense that there was I would like to reflect that the board questioned the creation of a position.
Yeah.
Based upon the fact that this position had been advertised for back in February.
Is that true? The
Yes.
special ed position had been advertised. It
No,
wouldn't have been
no,
advertised
the
until it
football-
was- Until you created.
Just the football coach.
Huh?
It
The
can't be
football
advertised
coach,
until you
well,
create
But
it.
this isn't for the football coach, this is for the special ed.
yeah, this is for the special ed.
Yeah.
The, I don't know if Dr. Laney is free. When were applications taken and when did this is, it's almost like you said,
Here's
was
the
a
real
secret.
issue is whether the guy who wasn't hired or people who weren't hired have a dispute. And if they do, they have legal redress.
Okay.
Or Dr. Laney or the site-based council have a dispute. I mean, that's the issue.
All I could offer him was a football coach position. Every one of the candidates want a teaching position. So I should have asked the board, I guess, for a teaching position, but I did not know how to handle that. When I went to Mr. Mayor, of course, with special ed, that's a district thing, and that's why he requested it, but, so I'll take the blame for not requesting a teaching position, but nobody's going to accept a football coach job without a teaching position. Nobody.
So special ed is a district allocation.
Yes.
It's a district-wide allocation.
That's why it was
Here's
said district
my
allocation.
question is that why would you go through the process of hiring a football coach when it's understood that your football coach is also going to be a,
We don't know that.
okay,
We don't know what certification that candidate is going to hold.
okay.
We know that they are a football coach, but we don't necessarily know the certification of the selected candidate.
Because at the time,
Why was the job title in the same motion as the personnel?
Say that again, sir?
Why was the job title addressed in the same motion
The special education?
as the
Why was it or wasn't it?
why was it?
Because that's the position that the district needed. It wasn't, because that prevents the superintendent from hiring any position or anyone into that position. It's a special education allocation. It's not a DPP, it's not a P5, it's not a math and science. We only know what our needs are for the allocation once we go through the hiring process. And certainly, the hiring process for coaches, especially at the varsity level, is a little unique. It's just unique outside of your typical hiring process, because you don't know, we may have, let's say we have 10 candidates, we may have 10 different certifications, and at the end of the day, the recommended candidate that fits the bill, salary, stipend, whatever's offered, may hold a certification in middle school social studies. If that was the case, there is no such thing as a district allocation, it would have been a school allocation. But in this case, it just happened to be special education. That's the certificate that this particular individual held.
Okay, maybe we put in parentheses, I don't know if you can do that, this district allocation is for the football coach or for special education only?
Special education.
We can do that?
I believe it's what was on the agenda.
No, I don't
We'll
think it
make sure,
was.
we'll put it on the, I know it was discussed when I came in and shared with the board what we needed was
Maybe in
special education.
parentheses, put special education.
District
In the
allocation,
district allocation, and make sure that there's a distinction between school level allocations, which we know that are filled by the principal, and district-wide / special ed, so we know that person is hired by the superintendent. Here's the thing, I don't have a problem, I don't care who's hired, I want the correct procedure to be followed.
yes.
I want principals to come in here and say, okay, this is my recommended candidate. Because when the principals mess up, they hire the wrong person, and their test scores go down the
But the
drain.
principals don't come into the board and report that.
No, I'm saying, I know that. What I'm saying is the principals have to face the board when their scores go
Yes.
down the drain. Principals should have the authority to hire who they want to, after consulting with the council. And see, this is the thing that we disagreed with, and that everybody here was at that meeting when I said you are required to hire who the superintendent recommends.
No, principal recommends.
Or who the principal recommends. And
And
you
I
said,
said
no,
no.
I'm not. I said, you're required to.
I'm
You said,
still
no, I'm
saying
not.
I'm not changing that.
And you said that you didn't have to give, and I said, well, you gotta have a reason. And you said, I don't have to give a reason.
To the board. Certainly.
Wait a minute, you have to have a reason not to hire somebody.
Well, the site-based doesn't hire special education. Special education
Yeah,
hires
that.
special education, right? Am I wrong?
That's correct. The district one.
No, you don't have to give a reason for the board, but you do have to have a valid reason.
All by itself.
In this case, we were being asked to create a job, not knowing if that job was needed. Not knowing if the job was needed, if the recommended candidate could have filled a slot, and that's the only reason that we questioned it, that I questioned it. And that was it. That was, all of our questions was for school level allocation, and that was it.
So on the motion, we're going to amend that where it says, discussion and possible action on personnel dash district allocation dash special education. Okay.
Dash school level allocation.
No, it's a district allocation.
Okay, but you did not have that in the, you did not have that whenever the agenda was made. You did not make a distinction between school level and district allocation, district-wide
It's on
allocation.
both of them.
Huh?
District allocation.
Yeah, district allocation, which can mean district-wide or school level.
No, sir. District allocation means a district allocation. It's not a school allocation.
Okay, let me, Mr. Smith, were you aware that this was, if you had district allocation, could that be interpreted either school level or district?
I would know that if it says district, it's central office. I was unaware of whether, when we had the first meeting, when you called me or we discussed it,
Yeah.
I was unaware if a special ed teacher was a school allocation or a district allocation,
Yeah.
because I didn't know.
What would clear it up if it was school, if a distinction was made between school level, district-wide, that would clear it up. We know school level, hired by the principal, district-wide,
Well, now
hired
you
by.
know, but it was on the agenda, district allocation. So,
I think if you put special education beside of
Yes.
this, because special
Yes.
education is a
That's fine.
district allocation,
Yeah.
right? So we change it. It can't be a
so
school.
we'll amend that and it'll be on the next meeting to be approved. Or can we approve it now?
Well, if you can agree on the wording, you could approve it right now as amended.
I'm fine with district allocation and special education in there. I mean, I know you can't say school-based because it is.
Motion to approve the minutes with that amendment.
Okay. Do you all understand? Do you understand that, Mr. Ball?
Yeah, I understand. I understand it now. But at the time, I thought all of us were aware that it was a school level allocation, hired by the principal. I think we all thought that.
So how will we say it? How will we make the motion? How do we say it?
Make the motion that you're going to add from the existing narrative, discussion and possible action on personnel dash district allocation as it is now, but you're going to amend those minutes to add special education after the term district
Special
allocation.
education, and add to it that this person was hired by the superintendent, not the site-based, not the principal of the site-based.
That's not the agenda item. The agenda item is the allocation of the position.
District allocation says the superintendent.
Okay, district-wide allocation, add that.
Okay, do I do a motion to that effect then? I need a second.
What?
Second.
Surely someone will second it.
Yeah, I'll second it.
Okay, I need a vote. Okay, I need a vote.
Yes.
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 Yes. Okay, motion passes if nobody objects. Okay. The next is discussion and possible action on treasury orders in the amount of $324,563.72 and paid warrants in the amount of $296,005.74. Does anybody have any questions on this?
Madam Chair,
Okay.
did we just pass 3 sets of minutes in one motion?
What we did. Yeah.
Yeah, we should do it.
Is that parliamentary procedure?
Yes, under consent items, but I'll refer to the board.
Well, I think it could be, it was, if you wanted to, did you want to have an issue with any of the others? You want to raise it, I guess.
I just had a question on the, first of all, on the illegal meeting, there is, the vote shows 2-2 on order 1114. It shows Lois Walker not voting. I'm not
The
sure.
illegal meeting?
Well, in the illegal meeting, there should be no minutes of the
Yes.
illegal meeting, right?
No, you wouldn't have
I know that, but it was included in our package.
Okay,
It's right here.
thank you.
I thought I made the motion.
Okay.
It's on the What about March the 30th? Does anybody have any questions on March the 30th then? Or that was March 30th, March 11th?
Yeah, I got a question about it,
Okay.
and I'm sorry, but I still need an explanation, and maybe our legal counsel can give it to me. This March 11th was a substituted for the day that we missed because of high water.
Okay.
It was our regular meeting, and the agenda says regular meeting. Now, it can't be both a regular and a special. Here's my problem, sir. Get right to it, and then it's over with. Nobody else have a problem with this. But this is no new business was discussed. Well, we were told it couldn't be discussed on this because this was a special meeting.
And that's correct.
But how can it, okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Here's the situation. The board is required legally in January of each year to adopt a schedule of regular meetings. Once that's adopted, that's what the regular meetings are. And it happens from time to time because of, weather, some board members can't be there, some other problem, a holiday maybe will come up in between. So the board's regular meeting will have to be changed. And when it is, it's always a special meeting. Even though it may be substituted for a regular meeting, it's a special meeting. And if the minutes say regular meeting, that ought to be amended and taken off. Now, at the board agenda, if the same agenda was used, and perhaps it shouldn't have been, and I know it came up at the time, Mickey, you said, well, it had on the agenda like new business. The problem with that is that on a special meeting, you have to specifically set out what it is you're going to do, and new business could be anything that anybody would come up with at the time. And that's what you can do that at a regular meeting, but the law won't permit it for whatever reason at a special meeting. I think the reason they do it is this, is because agenda items are supposed to be submitted, if other than by the chair, 10 days before any regular meeting. Presumably, maybe you don't, but you should get the agenda several days beforehand. The General Assembly came to believe that sometimes there used to be, the law was different. And the board could vote at a special meeting by 3 members, 3 to 2 or whatever, to change an agenda at a special meeting. But the General Assembly, after some litigation over time, came to the conclusion that sometimes that wasn't fair to board members who were in the dissent because they might not have had enough information to discuss it and argue their position. That's why the law now is that when a special meeting is held, the agenda items are supposed to be specific and we're not permitted to go beyond what's put there. And that's why new business would have been a problem because nobody knew really what the new business was. If it had new business and then said something, whatever it said, we could have discussed. Okay?
Well, I had to hear it from a legal source, and I really
But that ought to be, if it says regular meeting, it ought to be amended at least to the extent of putting special meeting in.
Okay. I have no more questions, Madam Chair.
Yeah, I guess you'll have to vote on that.
Okay. Need discussion, discussion and possible action on March 11th, 2015 board minutes, March 3rd, 2015 board minutes, and April 1st, 2015 board minutes amended.
Read special. Read special.
To read special.
Whoa, no. You mean the one we were just talking about?
Yeah, to change it from a regular meeting where it said regular meeting, because it really was a special meeting. To amend your minutes that you approved to show it's a special meeting instead of a regular meeting.
Okay. That's fine, buddy. Go ahead, man.
Okay, I need a motion to accept.
You got a second?
I don't have a motion yet.
To say it's a special meeting?
Yeah, no, to accept the minutes again, discussion.
No one else can make a motion?
Yeah, that's changed.
Change one word, make a motion.
Okay. Need a second? I'll second it. I need a vote. Yes.
How about now?
Opposed was,
Maybe.
I'm totally confused now.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the reasons. I mean, I think our minutes need to
That's
be.
quite all right. I'm sorry if I'm the only person in here, and I'm definitely not trying to make this long. I've worked for 24 hours on my taxes, and I'd love to get out of here and watch a marathon of lockup.
okay, this next discussion and possible action on treasurer orders in the amount of $324,563.72 and paid warrants in the amount of $296,005.74. Any questions on this? If not, I need a motion to accept.
I'll make a motion to accept.
I need a second.
I'll second.
Vote, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Okay, motion passes. Discussion and possible action on professional conferences, vehicle request, and use of district property. Does anybody have any questions on that one? If not, I need a motion to accept.
What conference is this going to be? What? Oh, yeah, that's right. Sorry. Oh, that's it, listen. Is this the way, Mr. Superintendent, that we normally do pass vehicle requests, even if they're, we're going to have a meeting before that, just so they can plan? Is that?
I'm not sure I'm following. And this is normal of what the district has customarily reported to the board.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Sure.
Any more questions? If not, I need a motion. Okay, I need a second.
I'll
I
second.
need a vote.
I'll second.
Aye.
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 Madam,
Opposed?
no opposed. Madam Chairman, Can I make a request?
Okay.
I mean, we have, we got a huge agenda thing here. We've already, went through and discussed a lot of things. Well, there's an item here that we tabled before in the past, and that's this discussion of possible action on entering closed session for superintendent formative evaluation. I understand that's something that should have already been done, correct? I don't want to, and I hate these things that are very, very important being stuck down at the bottom where they're kind of more or less like an afterthought to where we're ready to get. So is there any way that we can move that up? You can ask legal counsel there.
Sure, it's a regular meeting.
Regular meeting.
You could move, chairman can move the agenda item up if that's what the board members would like to do.
I like what we're saying.
That's, I guess we wouldn't need a motion to do that.
That's why
I would say, the reason why the closed sessions are at the end, because historically the board has requested the closed sessions be at the end in order for the audience to enjoy participation of the entire agenda rather than waiting. But certainly it is the board's prerogative to move any item anywhere with 3 votes.
Well, I'd like to have a motion to have it moved to now. I mean, if that's.
How does everybody feel about it?
Well, I think it would take a while, and
If it's put off, then we'll have to do it.
I mean, I hate for these people to be told to leave. It could be a while.
It could be a while.
Would the board like to entertain the idea of having a special call board meeting for that one in particular item?
Yes, I would.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it'd be great. I think it'd be good.
I think that's probably wise. So, would
By law, is there any date that it has to be done, sir?
It needs to be, well, it needs to be done this month. So if you could do it in the next week or two,
Yeah.
you could get it finished.
Okay,
Then I don't disapprove of your suggestion.
this is a formative. Certainly, it's good to have formative evaluation, as any employee would understand, but the summative is the important one. It has to be done in June. So if the board, the recommendation would be to, well, we don't have to do that yet until we get to that point.
Yeah.
But we'll table it.
Okay, next item is superintendent matters.
No, the 8, we never.
Okay. Discussion and possible action on purchase of utility vehicle for food service program.
I'll make a motion to do that.
What is the food
It's
service
a food
program?
service program. Yeah,
What
the
is
bid.
that? License.
As we discussed, I have no problem. I have no,
Briefly, Lois,
Just to mainly use for our summer feeding program and transporting food and supplies back and forth from our school sites. Expand, hopefully our after-school meal program, possible trainings that I would have to take the managers to. The KDE has already approved the purchase. I'm just asking for you guys to approve solicitation of bids.
Oh, okay.
And it's solely out of food service funds.
For after school and doing the summer feeding program.
Anyone else has anything?
No, I thought you did a great job during the work session to answer all of my questions that I could make up, and I dare Gary to have any questions about it.
let the motion, if I may suggest, on this particular motion to add to the minutes that it is discussion possible action on purchase of utility vehicle for food service program to let bids or to allow for bids, let out for bids.
Okay, I need a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Okay. Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Okay, next item is discussion and possible action on memorandum of agreement between Big Sandy College and Technical Center and the Martin County Early College Academy.
And Megan has small children, so she had to leave.
Yeah, I think Megan did a good job explaining it. I like it. I make a motion to.
It's for the kids, I say yes.
Okay.
Second.
Got a motion, got a second, I need a vote, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Motion carries. Our next item is discussion and possible action on bidding proposals for Martin County School District property and liability insurance.
Okay, similar discussion for item 11 as well, but taking these one at a time. If the board is prepared to entertain the notification, or rather the advertisement for property and liability insurance to any interested vendors. Now, they can continue with what we have, we'll put it out for bid, is that correct?
Yeah, you bid it last year, right? You could, if you got a proposal that has an amount of money that you're satisfied with, you could roll it over for a year. I don't know if you do, if you got a proposal from the, you haven't advertised. As long as you advertise it and see, and then they'll let you know whether they're going to.
Anything that costs over $10,000 has to be bid, correct? 20?
Raised it.
Well, they did raise that, didn't they? Didn't it used to be 10?
It used to be 10, yeah.
That's back when I was 29 years old. Just a couple.
Yeah, last year.
I recommend to rehire the council.
Okay, now what about liability insurance?
Does the board, do you want to bid it out for notification to receive bids? Proposals?
Yes.
Yeah, that'd be good.
I mean, that's what I'm not asking that, that's what the motion intends to say.
So, do you want to make a motion?
I'll make that motion, yes, ma'am.
Okay, I need a second.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item is discussion and possible action on bidding proposals for Martin County School District auditing service.
Have we bid this out?
We did last year.
We did last year, and we did come back with 3 bids, and the lowest bid we took, which was our old auditor, or our auditor that we've had for several years. I have had word that he may go to another school district this year, so the other 2 bids have asked me to contact them, but we'll bid it and see what happens. If that's what the board wants. We'll have to do that, won't we, Mr. Rose?
If he's declined.
Well, that's just word I've heard.
Can our treasurer meet with the people?
I'm sorry,
I trust Tammy. I graduated from school with her. That's good enough for me. But no, can we have her meet with these people and give us a recommendation, or is that?
Once we bid it out, yes.
And you get the bids in.
You get the bids in.
Okay, then you can meet and advise us on what you would
What
recommend.
did you think,
Is that legal? Okay.
Yes, well, she can't discuss it until the bids are
Right,
received.
right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, but we do. And the current, I guess what we're trying to say, the current auditor
May go to another school district.
may go, because of the circumstances of last year, he put in a pretty low bid to, if you recall, if the board recalls, he came in very low to get the bid. He did good work for us, but, you know, if the board would like to, his indication that the cost may go up this year, I guess. Cut to the chase.
Nobody ran him off or anything.
No,
Okay.
and he has done.
Would you like to know what happened, why that was? Well, what it is the board under the model procurement code may hire professional services without bidding. And most of the time, lawyers, doctors, you don't bid that service out. But because of events that occurred in Mason County, where the auditor, over a period of years, had not picked up on the superintendent's allegedly illegal activities.
Yeah.
And in a number of other districts, those things had occurred. So the state auditor and the Department of Education and others who oversee this kind of activity recommended that boards periodically bid out the service so as to periodically change auditors. Last year, the state sent out to each school district in Kentucky a statement that they expected you to bid out auditing services unless you could justify keeping the same auditor. A number of school districts sent out, because I drafted them, reasons why they wanted to keep their same auditor. And they were usually permitted to do that. And I think here, Martin County bid, and you got your same auditor again. Once you bid, if the same person gets it, they never raise the question.
Yeah.
And you're not obligated to take the low bid.
Right.
But anyway, Tammy can interview and talk to anybody about calling her in person. The only thing she can't do is, once those bids are open, she can't negotiate price, because that will void the whole process. As long, you can talk to them about anything, but you can't talk about, will they cut their fees?
Yes.
Yeah.
But we can also ask recommendations of previous positions.
Sure you can,
Yes.
and call other districts and see if they're satisfied with their service.
We have to ask this other one, one we've got now, he could still bid on it, couldn't he?
Sure good,
Yeah.
very good.
Yes. Okay, do we have a motion to take bids?
I'll make a motion for that.
Okay, I need a second.
I'll say.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The next item is discussion and possible action on the Ted Hill Scholarship to Early College Academy Selection. Oh, sorry, discussion and possible action on joining the Regional National Board Certified Teachers Cohort in Morehead State University.
Yeah, I thought Lisa did a good job explaining that. I mean, that's, to my satisfaction, I'll make a motion. Sounds like a really good program.
Okay, I need a second.
Plus, I trust you, you're from Oceana.
We have a second.
Well, I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item is discussion and possible action on Ted Hill Scholarship to Early College Academy Selection.
As we talked about earlier in our work session, the Ted Hill Scholarship, as we went through last year with Mike's guidance and counsel there, and what I'm recommending to the board is using that for our Early College Academy. But I guess that may be a question for Mike, for you to answer, if we can use that. I know last year.
I haven't looked at that in a year, or more than a year, but I don't see any reason why you can't, because basically you're subsidizing a college program for your students, which is what the Ted Hill Scholarship intended to do anyway.
And I think last year, I think Mickey had a question about the document, the instrument itself, the original instrument, so he may.
Yeah, during the work session, I was asking about, are there some heavy-duty
It was
in place?
drafted in the broadest sense
Yeah.
of the word. I don't know, it really had no real parameters, did it? And even in terms of how you would have successors appointed in order to administer the program, thank you. But that's I don't see any reason why, no, there aren't any real restrictions on that.
How much is the scholarship total for?
I don't know, I can't remember, you found some money, but I don't know how much was in
I
there.
believe there's a $12,000 balance.
12,000 pounds.
And we gave a good chunk of it away last year as well. It probably, well, as we discussed last year, it should not have got up to that point. So we increased the number of students that received those. And we created a criteria process, the selection process, that we're following again this year.
But this will limit
See, I thought.
the number of people who are eligible. If we vote for this, we are limiting that to this program, correct?
No, sir. No. Our graduates, we have some seniors already selected to receive the amounts that we established by the criteria last year as well. So this is in addition. These are the dividends. That's the amount we can use from the investments that Mr. Tuthill made, the bonds and stocks that he had purchased for this district. These are simply the dividends that should be distributed already.
The way it reads, possible action on
I think,
scholarship to early college academic selectees.
Academy.
And it,
Yeah,
Do you
It
mean
is
like a
impressive.
Scrabble?
No, that's the early college academy that we just spoke about, the 5.
yeah, and I'm all for that, but does that limit the scholarship to those people who are
No,
in that
sir,
academy?
no, sir, no, sir. There are scholarships already been, we've already selected Craig Grayson, who heads that team that identifies the selection and criteria for those graduating seniors that are going on to post-secondary education, that they are receiving a scholarship out of this as well.
so what we're saying, this will benefit more kids.
It'll benefit more kids, and we get more education for the dollar in this early college academy, of which was, we talked about a moment ago with Megan. And for the 5, there's 5 kids that are going in, and if you remember the discussion, there's about $1,000 out of pocket for each one of them. So we're gonna use that for that purpose. To get this.
well,
So that's 5,000.
okay, are we gonna set up some?
Yes, and then there's another 3,000 for, I think, 2 or 3,000 that's going for selected seniors that will receive scholarships.
Well, are we gonna set up something that limits how many of these children, the early, and those who go the traditional route, graduate from school? I mean, is it gonna be solely used for them? Because I'm like Mickey, I read that and I think, this is only for the early college. It's only for these selectees here.
No, I guess what I'm informing the board of is that I will be using the Tug Hill Scholarship to be used for the Early College Academy. Going back to our discussions last year, the criteria came down, the superintendent would distribute those to the graduating seniors. Is that right, Mike? Do you
I think
recollection?
so. Well, if you knew the amount, I don't know how much money, I don't know anything about how you award the scholarship. But if there are students who are receiving it or who are going to receive it, and you say, I've got some extra money, $12,000, wouldn't you, couldn't you ensure its use, restricted use by granting a certain amount of money to the early academy?
Yeah.
What the superintendent recommends, and that way you would limit the amount that was set there instead of leaving it open if you feel that it might be an issue.
Well, the amount would be hard because we would know,
Well, he's
like a
already knows.
percentage.
We only have 5 slots.
Okay, we only have 5.
Wait,
And would this only be for this year?
It would only be for 1 year.
This time, right?
it doesn't say for this, only for this year. This is forever.
Yeah.
If it doesn't say, what, discussion and possible action on Tug Hill Scholarship to early college academy selectees. That means it's to those people. And I have nothing bad to say about those people, but, and I'm happy for them to do this, but it looks to me like you're limiting that. And, you know, some
And it looks like it's from here on out.
poor senior that lives at 245 Cassidy Avenue won't be eligible for it.
Well, what you could, by limiting, by making a motion to give whatever, 5,000, 6,000, whatever it is, to 5 attendees of the early, basically, the early college academy for the 2015-2016 academic year. And then that would, if you wanted to do that, or you may not want to do it at all.
Now that makes-
That's how you could solve it.
Yeah.
With that language.
For this year only.
For this year only, then it would come up next year, and you could renew it or not renew it, as you chose.
Now, this Tug Hill Scholarship, is that the one that, where everyone applies, they were supposed to get some, every senior that applies?
I don't know that.
No?
Well, it's
Never been like that?
Never been.
been secret. It's been a secret.
There have been years when no money was distributed. It was sort of forgotten apparently for a while.
Last year, it wasn't like that, where everyone,
No, we established criteria for those graduating seniors.
Here, wait a minute. We established, the board didn't establish the criteria.
Yes, sir, you approved it.
We did?
Yes, you did.
Are you sure we did?
Yeah,
Did we do it on
absolutely
Indeed?
positive.
Did we do you recall that, Kathleen?
I think we redid this after couple of years ago.
And it's on a needs basis,
Needs
right?
basis.
Yeah, you did it on a neat basis, Gary.
I don't remember establishing kind of, okay, but I mean, I did want to make sure that was the case.
And the only question the only reason I raise a question is that I hate to see it limited to one particular group or fraternity of people, because there are needy people out there that will not be in the early college academy, and they still have the desire and the want to go on, and
Why not keep it for the needy? Why give it to the early college academy when they're already getting money for going to college?
If you remember in Megan's presentation, she said that on the criteria for those getting selected into the early college academy, socioeconomic status and first-year college enrollees, there were points given on that application. So those candidates could possibly be recipients of the early college academy, because that's the goal, is to introduce college life to those students and families who have not had it.
These funds are going to be used to purchase their textbooks. I think, you all understood
That was the
that.
conversation.
Right. And there are going to be those that possibly will be accepted into it that will not be able to afford that $1,000 a year for those textbooks.
I understand. And there are other kids who aren't even going to be in the program.
Exactly.
Who are in a need situation.
Can't they put it in like the grade criteria and income too, put it all in one?
The criteria for admission into the academy, there's actually 3 areas there. If they are first generation college, if they are on free and reduced lunch, and then there's something else that gives them bonus points automatically above their test scores and their attendance and all of that.
Right. Yeah.
And there will be some unable to be able to.
And we're still giving.
We're still giving. Basically, what you're doing, you're giving it to them as juniors or at the beginning of their junior year instead of giving it to them when they graduate. It's the same, you're just giving it to them earlier. Perhaps these would be ones that would be selected anyway as seniors.
We table it until we look at something that's more, something to, completely understand it. To make sure that all kids get a shot at it. You know what I mean?
Well, the recommendation is for the 5 slots that do go through a rigorous selection process based on, and some of those factors are based on the document itself. Also, as funds are available, so
I think those kids need to know now.
they do need to know now. They need to know now, because next month Dr. Chrisman will be here, and certainly the 5 students that are selected will be here as well. And if they don't have that $1,000, they may not
plans to go to college and put off, and they're not sure whether they're going to get any financial assistance. I mean, that puts them in a bind.
Yeah, but if you're limiting this money, this scholarship, just for that group, you've got kids out here that's not going to be in that group.
You're not limiting it, just that group.
Well, just put it to the 15, 16. Can you do that?
Yeah.
But there's nothing here that,
And then start over till you reword it and understand it better, give it to the kids now and just limit it to this seniors and then redo it? You think that would be okay?
These seniors will still get the remainder
Yeah.
of what's left from the early college academy.
Yeah.
But
that's why we would need to know now.
Yes,
That's why they would need to know now
Yeah.
how much to
Just-
award.
Mr. Harles, my whole thing, sir, was that it looks like the way it's set up here, that it is just limited to.
Yes.
You understand?
I thought we just discussed, we can use part for early college academy and part for seniors. I thought that's what we just said.
We can word it.
I haven't seen that yet.
I mean, that's what Mike said.
Yeah, that's what you said you could do.
yeah, you could do, but it's not.
If if the.
I want both groups
The scholarship committee, right, the group that awards, the question is, have they already awarded money to seniors who are going to be going to college? Does that continue on?
I don't think
for
there's a
period?
scholarship committee.
Yes, I just said that 5 minutes ago.
Is
The
there a
seniors
scholarship-
have already been selected to receive it for this year.
Who was on the scholarship committee? Okay, who's on the scholarship committee?
Fred Grayson is the chair.
Are there any
He's the
community?
high school principal and the counselor.
Greg Grayson does a great job, I'm sure, yes.
But if they've already been selected for this year, and we're only going to do this for this year.
Well,
But
this
who
is one of
says
those-
you have to give this money?
Well, it will help them pay for their books.
What about the kids that don't have that program, Lois?
And otherwise, otherwise.
Are those
they'll
kids,
be able
those
to-
5 kids, do they get to use their key money starting in their junior year?
No.
No. And the seniors have already been selected by Prego.
I thought
Mr.
Mr.
Grayson.
Lady said they could use their kids' money their junior year.
By the committee, I'm sorry.
Their keys money does not start until they actually start. She didn't say that.
My question to the board is, every time you have this money, is it gonna be used for those slots for the college kids, or is it gonna be for any senior? That's my
Well,
question.
If we just do this for the year 2015, 2016, then
And then
next year.
change it.
Yeah,
Then
next
change
year
it
we
next
would have-
year. So you all have to make a motion to amend that.
We'll see.
The wording has to be
No,
changed.
motion's been
Yeah, the
made.
wording.
The wording has to, see, Has to be they will changed. get it this year, and then next year they'll have to redo it. Because they've already been selected.
Okay, we can do it as, I have no problem with the discussed, on Tuthill Scholarship, the early college academy selectees for the 2014-15 school year.
2015, 16, yeah.
2015, 16, yeah.
Yeah, I know.
But how much?
You can even
Yeah.
say, you can even say.
Yeah.
Say
That's the
$5,000.
amount, I don't know.
Okay, to be, be $5 $1,000 scholarship.
Okay, or would it be better, 5,000?
Yeah, well, you can reward it later
All right.
on, you know, to where, because they've already been selected.
We better reword it right now.
Yeah, better do it, yeah.
Because they've already, you know, they've already been picked.
Just like
Let's see.
the,
Feeling
for
better.
this school year, and then, yeah,
Yeah, for this school term only.
Okay.
and then next year it will probably rise,
Yeah, and then you can,
then we can,
yeah.
we have to do it then.
Okay, do I get a motion to that effect that if we use the $5,000 for this year only?
Yeah, I'll make it.
Or the 2015, 16, I'm sorry. Early College Academy.
I would put on, I just put 2015, 2016.
It's getting late, I've been.
Yeah, I'll make that motion, Kathleen, that we,
Okay,
it'd be, I guess, 5 $1,000 scholarships. Lisa, is that, or is that,
I'm sorry, I didn't see.
Or should it
Is
just be
it-
worded $5,000?
are they 5 $1,000 scholarships?
That's how you can word it. That's the estimated cost of books per child.
Okay, so for this year only.
And I'll just, normally, there's not much money in your Tuthill scholarship. There is a lump sum right now. Usually, it's around $1,200 that accumulates, but I can give you more accurate numbers a year. So when this money is depleted, there's only going to be around 12, if it's not carried forward, $1,200 to give out for scholarships, for an annual scholarship. Well, there's 12,000 right now, so I'm just saying normally. So don't count on, I just didn't want the board to count on having the same amount again next year to repeat the process.
What would it be next year?
Also, how much,
the senior scholarships.
I don't determine that,
how much does it generate a year, Tammy?
around 1,200.
Around 1,200? Okay. Not a whole lot. I know I saw some of the holdings, and I mean, the companies are pretty old. I think they're out of business, yeah.
Year 15, 16.
School year 15, 16.
Any more discussion? discussion on it, or?
No.
On your minutes, 5 $1,000 scholarships.
Okay, I need a motion to that.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, I need a second.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Next item is discussion and possible action on farm to school grant.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This grant is food service. Can you speak to that farm? How much is it?
It's $5,000. It's a farm to school mini grant that I'm working on with the county extension office. We haven't gotten it yet. It has to be submitted by the 15th.
I attended a conference a few weeks ago at the Wilkinson Stumbo Center in at Jenny Wiley Lake, across from the dock, and it was called Growing Appalachia. And there were there was one session I went to, and there was 2 schools, one of them from Floyd County and the other from, I don't know, where was it? Pike County, that had been a part of a program like this, and maybe the same program. And they were talking about the enrichment, and they had, this one little girl upstaged her teacher in explaining the benefits that she had received from there and what the other kids did, and it, you know, it taught them an appreciation of what, how we used to have to do. And they were even having great salads in their school cafeteria. It was quite neat. I don't know if there's any discussion on this. I read through the program packet, and if there's no other discussion, I'll make a motion to accept it.
Okay, I have a motion. I need a second.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And for, just for information to the board policy 1.11 requires that grants before that they are submitted are approved by the board. So that's why you'll see grants on there. I can certainly talk with the chair, and we may put them in some items going forward if you would so desire.
What did you say? So you talk to the chair and might do what?
We could put any grants that we're applying for, could be put under consent together. And you could either take them apart one by one, or at least they would all be under the consent item to approve the grants. Or we can continue in this manner.
That one didn't take long. We could probably approve grants pretty quickly, couldn't we, Rob?
Anytime you ask for money.
Okay, our next item is discussion and possible action on connected ATT technology grant.
Thank you. As you received in part of your package, this is a collaborative effort between it's a consortium of school district, Lawrence County, Johnson County, and Martin County. And it is a one-to-one technology grant for our students in middle school and high school. We met all criteria last fall for this AT&T grant to stand alone as one county, except for the student population. We did not hit the target range of students in our middle school and high school, which was between 3,000 and 4,000. So what was suggested by the committee, AT&T to Connect Ed for one-to-one technology, was that we form a consortium with other districts, which we have done with Superintendent Fletcher and also Superintendent Salyer down in Johnson County. And we have, over the course of the last 6 weeks, have had meetings with our technology, and Rossi can speak more to this in just a moment, but with Frank Wells also, which is our KETS point of contact with KDE. And it's pretty exciting. It's a 3-year grant, and it's going to be a one-to-one, really good for our kids, especially for distance learning in non-traditional scheduling and school calendars. We have 3 weeks out of school that'll be connected to a one-to-one technology. It's not just for that, because the key factor there is do we have service available for that wireless technology? And one drives the other. Which this is a SOAR initiative, is that correct? It's part of the SOAR initiative coming through here with monies towards the technology. If you recall, Hal Rogers and his initiative, the iHighway, and that money is coming through the SOAR project. And AT&T, once this project gets through the one-to-one, then that really drives AT&T to establish the connectivity that we need for our kids and for our communities. Rossi, would you like to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, I've been a little reluctant to get my hopes up about this. I think it would just be a wonderful thing for Eastern Kentucky. I think that the beautiful thing is AT&T doesn't have a say in who gets this. ConnectEd actually controls who receives the grant. AT&T is the big player in it. So it kind of makes AT&T have to provide the coverage that they say they provide. If we get awarded, if Eastern Kentucky gets this awarded, you're going to see good phone service as a benefit all over the place.
We wouldn't know how to act.
And so, that's a huge plus. And I mean, this is it's a huge deal. And I'm really excited about it.
And are you writing the grant?
Paul Baker wrote. Well, Paul and I worked together on it, but Paul did most of the work. I'm not going to. And we.
Okay, so it's just applying for the grant.
Yes. Yeah.
Wise thing to do. I'll make a motion to give you all permission to apply for the grant.
Okay, I have a motion, I need a second. Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion
Thank you, Ross.
Okay, next item, discussion and possible action on board meeting policy, procedures, and protocols.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The last regular board meeting, or last board session that we had, approved the first reading.
Okay, we're open for discussion on it.
I think that this is one of the most important things to make a policy on, not just in Martin County, but throughout Eastern Kentucky. And I, for one, Madam Chair, would suggest that we take the draft, I think that was in on our email or packet, and we look at it very carefully, and come back with suggestions, and maybe at our next meeting have a work session.
Just on
a work session, yeah, or at least half a work session just on this, and then do something possibly at that meeting after the work session, approve one that everyone agrees with. Is that okay, Madam Chair?
Yes. Everybody else agree that we...
Well, do you need me to make a motion to that?
Okay. You want to make a motion?
Sure. I make a motion to table this particular item until we meet at the next work session and spend 25 minutes or so with things that we have looked at that we would like to add or detract from this policy. And it's because that I think it's of big importance, and that's it.
Okay, I have a motion to table it until it
I'll-
can be discussed.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, and next item is discussion and possible action on sewage usage agreement for Martin County Schools with Martin County Sanitation District.
We'll let Mike speak to that for a moment.
I'm not sure what, I mean, I've seen the agreement. I spoke to the Department of Education about it. this afternoon. If the agreement is, the Department of Education, by state regulation, has to approve the granting of any easement, even if it's one that basically is of great value to the district. So if what the board needs to do or should do, if you choose to approve this, is to approve the granting, signing, execution of a sewer user agreement with, subject to the approval of the Kentucky Department of Education. Now, I'm assuming, and we need to know this, we need to know whenever is there a sewer line now near Warfield?
They're working on it.
Okay, well, and we'll need to tell whoever it is at the company this, they won't be able just to lay the line. The Department of Education will require a legal description so that you'll know it's going across your property. But the old Prestonburg grade school, for instance, that's why they have these regulations. It had about 4 different sewer lines running through it, and nobody knew where they were until, unfortunately, you dug into them and ruined the sewer. But they'll want either a plat or a legal description. And they do this in Breathitt and Perry and everywhere else. They won't approve, they like that. So we'll just need to work with these people. So before they put this line in, we'll need to have the description and send it down there, and they'll approve it. Okay? So we need to approve this with the subject to the approval, vote to do it, subject to the approval of the Kentucky Department of Education, with the understanding that the company or the municipality that puts this in will need to come back to you with a formal easement agreement that has a legal description in it. Okay? That's the only, and that's not a big deal, but you need to get that done or they'll kick sand at us or something.
Well, tell us how we should word the motion if we.
Contingent upon.
Yeah, I can make the statement and somebody can adopt it as a motion if you like. Move the board to approve entering into a sewer user agreement with the Martin County Sanitation District, subject to the approval of the Kentucky Department of Education, with the understanding that the sewer district will not place any lines on the school property until a legal description of the easement has been obtained and sent for final approval by the Department of Education. Yeah. And that won't take long.
I follow
He
his.
said, okay.
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Our next item is discussion and possible action on continued maintenance of baseball and softball fields complex.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As I have shared with the board, our fields at the softball, baseball complex, I've entered into a vendor agreement to maintain those. I would recommend that we continue to do that in order for our fields to be properly maintained and prepared for our students, baseball and softball, as well as the community use as well.
What about our football? Should that not be included in there too?
The turf, our maintenance takes care of it.
Oh,
And we have a sweeper, what's that thing called, cleaner?
Did we already pass that or something?
Sweeper.
What? Did we pass this already? I don't remember.
No, it's not passed. What I did was entered into vendor service, local vendor service, and what I'm sharing with the board is that I'm recommending that we continue that. The other option is to have our maintenance folks attempt this, or.
I've been by the field several times the last couple of weeks. I think the person that's doing this is doing a great job. I think we should continue.
They are. They look really good.
So you kind of hired someone, sir, to do this?
No, Mickey, I did not. This is a service. I didn't hire anyone. This is a service.
Yeah, but if you get a service, I mean, they're doing it. Who's doing it?
I believe it's B&B Landscaping is the name of the company.
Didn't we have a person that did that before? Who did it last year?
Jason, I think, didn't he?
I don't know if I can say.
I'm sorry, who did it last year?
Yeah.
Cody Sloan.
Huh?
Cody Sloan.
Did Cody Sloan did it last year? Why isn't Cody doing
Do
it
we need to
this
go
year?
into closed session right now?
I don't know.
No, it's a contract, it's not a quote, unless it's a school employee, it's not a.
Okay.
Oh, well, isn't it kind of,
Do you bid it like you do the other ones?
yeah, I'd say take bids.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, I thought this was being done by school employees. I didn't know that there was a vendor doing it.
Well, we had to start it as a vendor because we don't have the expertise to prepare these fields. Our maintenance folks do not. And we just do not have, with the workload that it requires to keep those fields in order and prepare them for our games. We just do
I
not.
think with baseball season and mid-season, I think you're making a mistake if you go away from the person that's doing it, because they know how to cut the grass. You cut it so high for the infield, you cut it so high for the outfield, you gotta do the edging of the infield, and they know what they're doing. I mean, the person with the maintenance, which I was there, he didn't know how high to cut the infield grass, he didn't know
This
how high
is a
to.
service, this is a vendor service, it's under $20,000, it does not have to be bid out. It's a service that's being done in our district.
And they're doing a good job.
But aren't they employed?
No ma'am, it's a service, they are not an employee and hire for this district.
So they're not hired, they're just giving us a service.
We're
They're
paid for it.
third-party contractors, like your board attorney, or like if you buy fuel. It's a third-party contractor.
I do think later on, of course, David Dish out of Breathitt County does the reseeding and, of course, looks at the infield and the edging and the soil. And I think we need to look at that during the fall, a little after, when it's appropriate to do that.
Well, why is it on the agenda? I guess I'm missing something.
Well,
If you could do this, then we didn't have to get permission.
I need to inform the board, and really the Office of Educational Accountability called me up. Someone made a complaint that I hired someone, and so I responded to them, and they gave me some direction that, just put it on the board and make sure that your board's informed, and enter that into the minutes and have it discussed, and the case was closed.
If it's a vendor, the board ought to approve it, or not approve it. Or it's up to you.
Well, like I said,
That's
I've
my
been by there
recommendation.
several times the last 2 or 3 weeks, and you're looking out for the safety of your kids, and baseball, I don't think you can put it off, and you gotta, which they do it, they know what they're doing. I say, I make a motion that we continue on and get the maintenance done.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I don't know if I can say what I need to say out loud.
Well, the whole thing about it is, really just, if the board doesn't have to give approval, he can do it. He can do it without our approval.
I just told you that in my opinion, it's a board issue, and you need to either approve it or disapprove it, or bid it out, or do whatever you want to do.
We didn't know anything about it. I mean, that's the whole
It's a
thing.
vendor. That's why we're here tonight. It says
That's what I'm
discussion, possible
saying.
action. I'm recommending to the board that we continue the service. It's either yes or no.
But we can hire someone twice?
That was the issue that was discussed, no. That person is not the owner.
Wait, is there an issue because is the employee of the contractor a board employee? Is the person who does the work a board employee?
The person who's doing the work is a level 2 coach.
Is a full-time employee or a volunteer or what?
This person receives a stipend for coaching.
And they don't perform the work on their, on school district time when they're supposed to be coaching.
That's correct.
Well, then that won't be an issue as long as they don't, as long as they aren't getting paid twice for the same time.
Correct.
But we wouldn't contract with that person. But
It's
he's
with the
employed by somebody else.
I mean, what do you mean by the same time?
Well, if a person has time as a custodian, and sometimes the district will want to hire a custodian to also cut the grass and stuff and that's a problem because you're paying, if they're doing that on time that you're paying their regular salary, that would be improper.
Would this be for every year? Or just this year? My question is, I would want to give everybody that does this contract service an opportunity. Leave it alone this year, but don't knock everybody else out every other year down the road.
How did they come to have this,
Maintenance is doing it.
yeah, see, that's what we thought maintenance was doing. That's what I thought.
No.
Outside fences.
Maintenance doesn't know how high that is.
The outside part, not right.
They don't know how to line the field, or the batter's box, they don't know how to do that.
But maintenance did it last year.
No.
They didn't? So who did it last year?
We had a guy last year that did it. He's not here anymore. He wasn't he was just to take care of the fields. Not
Was he paid?
Yeah.
Okay, the obvious question, was it cheaper by having this person here who was paid doing it? Is it cheaper, is this a cheaper route by going to the contracting service and having the person who did it last year was paid? Well, obviously did a good job.
But he's not here anymore. He's out now. He couldn't do it anymore, or he would be doing it.
So he said he didn't want to do it anymore?
He went to school full time. He's gone. So he don't have time to do it.
He's not here anymore.
So.
I'm confused with something else.
Okay. I have a motion on this. Any more discussion, or do I get a second?
Nothing more we can do.
Did everything.
It's already been done.
No, sir. My recommendation is that we continue the service. You're not voting on something that's already been done.
It's almost an everyday job. Depends on whether you're playing home or away, and then you've got 2 fields to take care of.
And we're being asked to vote on continuing the service when we weren't consulted in the first place. I mean, that's the problem that I have. And since it was under $20,000, we didn't have to be consulted. Correct?
Well, big thing you gotta look out for is the safety of the kids. It's not done.
It doesn't have to be bid.
What I'm saying, it doesn't have to be bid.
It had to be done, though.
It was in bad shape.
Sir,
Because we,
Yes.
are you at, I'm sorry, Madam Chair, are you at liberty to say how much we're paying for this service?
$375
For
per week.
a week?
Yes.
75 a week.
And not being done during games or any other work, no practices, no games, you know that for
That's the
sure?
agreement. Well, I haven't been, I don't go out there and watch them. I could talk to the individual that is in that position and ask them about what they would prefer to do, or if he's even doing it, if he's even part of it. But,
I think
out there about every day.
one thing we need to check on is flush those drains, flush it.
But the Office of Education Accountability was satisfied with the complaint.
So the Office of Education Accountability asked you to put this on the agenda, sir?
To inform the board, yes, and that's why it's here under discussion and possible action. My recommendation is to continue the service.
And again, my question is for how long? Is it just for this remainder of the season? Or is it from now on? Or are you gonna give somebody else the opportunity? And then I hush.
How many weeks are
So Mr. Manning can go home.
Well, you play, it's probably till June, because you play, you do good in the program, it's gonna be a couple of weeks after.
Okay, is this 375 dollars a week year round?
No, sir, it's for this, it would be
Season.
for this season, this year only.
Your baseball game, you know, how important field is with the kids need.
Sure.
If that edge is not done right, you're gonna get somebody nose broke or.
Yeah, Mr. Superintendent, I would like,
Yes, sir.
I would like to have at least before I would even consider it, a time span put on this promotion. That says for, the rest of this season.
For the high school, for school activities.
Yeah, well, we have the district tournament also.
That's very
We
big.
do have the district?
Yeah, I'd say it'll be, last week of May or first week of June.
It takes care of both fields, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And what exactly is covered by that? I mean, 375, I think is a lot.
Everything inside the field, including markings for every game. It's a lot of work. I mean, I know Larry would attest to that.
375 weeks.
Right, it's treating the fields, it's everything.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second? To continue the service until the ball season ends.
So about 6 more weeks left. I will second for this season,
Okay.
for this season.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Until the end of the school year, correct?
End of
Till the season.
Season, it's gotta be
The season,
season.
Till the
yeah,
season.
you gotta go past the school year,
Till the
yeah.
season.
Okay, opposed? Okay, motion passes. Next item is discussion and possible action on lease of Floyd Carter Community Center facility to house Martin County School District Alternative School beginning school year 2015-2016.
I want to make a motion not to do that. Based upon this reason, we had mobile units that we could have used that we declared as surplus property, to put the school district in debt to rent a place when we just got rid of mobile units that could have been used for this, you know, regardless of the money. There's sudden interest in the well-being of our alternative school students.
In the interest of the well-being of the kids, KDE
Well, the well-being of kids.
does not
Let me-
recommend
okay, let me-
using mobile
let-
units for instruction. They do not recommend this, and it's only on a temporary basis.
Well, it would only be on a temporary basis
No,
because
I mean-
3 years, well, hang on a second, let me finish. They have been housed with regular students all this time here. They could have been in mobile units for the next 3 years, and we're getting ready to build a new high school. And when the high school is built, we will have some place to put these kids. I'm not for leasing an alternative site for putting these kids at that. I mean, there's a liability to the public, having kids down there, busing them up every day from the high school all the way to the community center, back, getting meals to them. This is just there's just too many. And two, I want to tell you something. I mean, if I'm a troubled kid, and I know if I get in trouble that I'm going to be sentenced to the community center,
Yeah.
you know, that's a pretty good incentive to want to go.
This was a suggestion from someone else, but I said I would speak up and say what it is. Why do we have mischievous kids or whatever ACR, that's what it's supposed to be for, kids that's in trouble? Why do we have them? Why can we not put them back in the classroom? If they're so mischievous, figure out how many hours of ACR that they need. Make them go to school on Saturday. Let their parents take them. make sure the law makes through there. I'm sure when they have to start going on Saturday, they're not gonna wanna be there. I just don't see in segregating these kids out. I think they have to be in a classroom where they need to be learning, I mean,
The point, from my understanding, the point of alternative school was placed for kids that could not, that cannot be, that can't be in the general population, so they have a chance to get a high school diploma.
Punishment.
Yeah, it's kind of a form of punishment, but yet
It's
they
an
can still.
alternative.
Yeah.
It's an alternative setting.
Yeah, it's an alternative setting, so they can get the same chances that a regular, what you'd say, well-behaved kid
that was
can.
special education.
They do, and it does say, when I had issues with this when we first got to school, did you know, it's always been this way. Since we made the change from Sheldon Clark to where we're at now, this is the way it's been. We did have mobile units, I agree, me and Gary and all of us, we talked about that. I thought we should have kept the mobile units, because if you not, I'm just telling you, we were over capacity at Sheldon Clark. We are way over capacity now. They'll tell you you're not, but we are. Because it was built for a middle school. We're putting high schoolers in a middle school. I mean, it was emergency and I was okay. But our surplus our trailers were sold for surplus, which we could have used those. Right now, I have a problem with paying rent when they've raised our taxes 3 times, guys. Now they have. They say we cannot afford no more, because that's why they did this, so we can maintain what we have now. And I've got several issues going on with the hiring practices and all this too, because when they was talking about that's why I'm here about the coach. I know the one applicant that was here that could have filled a position, because he was a qualified math teacher. And he has an impeccable reputation. I know that for a fact. And I have issues with this spending, and they're raising my taxes. Because we do have co-severance tax cut. Now, we're gonna have to get our horns together instead of farting around, and I pardon the pun, and get our heads together and figure out what we're gonna do so we can get the kids in our new high school and so we can afford these bills. Because I'm tired of paying, and I'm not seeing nothing producing. I'm sorry.
I said this as a grandparent, not as a...
I'm a grandparent and a parent. I got the double whammy. And I love my kids, and I want them to have an education, but I'm just tired of having, I hear we can't afford this, and we spend. You know, that's all I hear.
Nikki, what would be your input on this? Dennis?
What?
What would be your input on the Roy Collier thing?
First thing I was gonna ask is, how much money you talking about, sir?
Pass down.
Should.
This, oh, I'm sorry, I should already given you. 7
It's the same amount we discussed the last time. This is the proposal that I recommend the board would approve, that I may propose it to the board at the RCC Center. This is not the finished product. This is simply an offer for the facilities.
Well, one reason I would be for it is, like she said, overcrowded, and we got, as far as JROTC, hopefully a new instructor, and the numbers are growing, they need more room. JKG has expressed to me that they need more room to take those partitions back out and another class or 2. So that's what I'm looking, they need space. And you're saying we're overcrowded, and that will help eliminate as far as lack of space. So that's how.
Get some mobile units.
So this is just a proposal to them, they haven't told you back?
That's correct, yes.
Okay, maybe can we like table this, and maybe when they get back with you?
Well, they're waiting on a proposal. That board is waiting on a proposal from this board for what we are looking for and what we are willing to.
This would be your proposal.
wait a minute, we were never looking for anything like this, the board. we were never looking at anything as far as moving our ACR students anyplace. Or I don't think it was ever brought up at a board meeting. Where a member of the board expressed that. I know they expressed us, and my reasoning on it is that we don't need to lease anything else. We pay a huge annual lease payment on this building here.
Do you have any rooms here available?
3, yeah, rooms here available. Do we have that? My thing is 3 more years, or when we get the school built, the high school built, there will be no need to lease this space. And there'll be no need to lease space for an alternative classroom because we'll have it. The big concern that I've got is once we get locked into it, it's going to be one of these things, even if it's year by year by year. 3 years from now, when that new school is built, and if I'm a member of the board, I may not be, but if I'm a member of the board, of course, I'm gonna make a recommendation to save this school district $80,000 a year that we move into Inez Middle School.
Amen.
And that one wing of Inez Middle School be used as the board central office, and the other wing be used as an alternative school. Can we wait 3 years? I think we can, as far as the alternative, as far as housing the alternative school students.
And I got a question, where's the money gonna come from
I have
anyway?
no idea why you keep saying 3 years.
Huh?
I thought it was gonna be 2. Why do you keep saying 3
I
years?
got a state.
I'm talking about the school being built.
Right, I hope it's not 3 years. The freshmen last year.
Well, we're looking at about 3 years, aren't we, Mike?
It's gonna take longer than you think.
Yeah.
It's gonna take longer than 3 years?
Yeah.
I didn't say that.
He didn't say that.
Madam Chair, just so you can make an informed decision, remember that we have the Chinese teacher that we will have to locate a space for next year. And I think projected enrollment is up 60 students from what we currently have. This graduating senior class is very small. Not that that helps you, but it just gives you some information.
What helps me make my decision, Madam Chair, is that it says here that projected occupancy, I think the word is, yeah. Certified staff, you got 2 of them. Classified staff, 1 of those. So you got 3 people. Students may be transported by district bus. That's another
That's cost.
cost. And student meals will be delivered and consumed in the classroom area. You got to deliver meals. That's going to cost something. I don't believe that you can get it for $750 per month. You might do it, sir. But also you got to say a student is 1 to 15. I expect you're saying 1 to student teacher ratio. 1 to 15.
No, it's student population.
That's the student population, so it's 15.
Oh, 1 to 15. We have never had 15 students in the in that school, I've been told.
As we discussed, again, these are projected numbers, and we're trying to plan for the future of the compulsory age of attendance is going up to 18. As we discussed this in our last board meeting. So we have discussed these issues before. The board has discussed this. I think the comment was made that we've never discussed it. Certainly, these are recommendations.
No, I don't think I said that hadn't been discussed. I
think Mr. Ball did.
Discuss what?
Who knows?
I mean, 1 to 15 students. 1 to 15 students.
They've never had.
Because it fluctuates.
Even 15 kids. I mean,
What's
you
the
never
most as of date
over
that
8.
has been in
How
the
many
alter-
kids is in
6,
alternative?
5, 6.
How many?
8.
8 at the most.
Yeah.
We have 8?
We have 8.
At the most.
Okay, when
At the most.
when we're compiling, we're complaining over 8 kids, when we've got 20 and 22 kids piled in one court, flow.
It would be a class cap size, which, to my understanding, which is 29 to 31 is the maximum.
So
Because some districts
you need
have,
2 teachers, or is one of those teacher, I'm sorry, one of the employees, 2 employees, well, 3 employees, one going to be a head principal,
or head teacher,
head,
have to
well,
have someone in charge.
pay for administrative, pay out of administrative, which is going to be a higher fee. One is a teacher, and then a classified who unfortunately doesn't get paid
Exactly.
nothing, but anyway.
These would be already existing. These are not, I'm not requesting allocations. These are existing positions.
These, we have 2 teachers in the alternative school.
We have, based on the discussions that we have had with the high school, there is an opportunity to move 2 certified positions and to and classified. Right now, there is 1 certified and 1 classified in the alternative setting, in the modular unit, external modular unit.
Have there been any complaints on the external modular unit with 8 students there? I mean, I've not heard anything.
The complaints are not there. It's the concerns that we have for those students that find it difficult to be successful in a traditional classroom. And so we're providing an alternative setting, research-based, that will give them and provide them with a successful environment.
Plus free up needed space for our others.
Very much so.
So you're gonna shift them kids out, so you can.
So, have one room? I don't get it.
I don't get it either.
I don't
mean,
get
if they're
it.
in a mobile unit, they're not taking up any space.
I do know the school they're in.
that we not
I make a motion that we not do this. I mean, this
I don't
is,
get it.
this,
I don't.
this just, yeah, I make a motion that we don't. That we keep everything the way it is.
What I'm saying is, and the reason why I think it doesn't make any sense, is, okay, right now, and I know we're overcrowded, and we just got, now, are you eight students? 8 students that are alternative, right?
Or less.
But
8's the highest.
Okay,
the number of those, it is really irrelevant whether you have 1 or 6 because they're taking up the entire unit.
Mobile unit.
So we're,
I think it's pretty.
but what I'm saying is in the
those would
school.
become out of that unit to where there would be another function at the high school that would go into the modular unit that's not classroom-based. So regardless of how many students are out there, it will free up a classroom. Whether you have 1 student out there, you have the entire classroom.
Yeah, but it'll free us up. It'll free
Not
up that,
much.
but then it's gonna put us
In debt.
In debt, yeah.
Yeah,
I wouldn't recommend it if it was going to put you in debt, and I think we've done pretty good fiscally over the last 18 months after.
well, yeah, after raising
$950,000.
property taxes, I beg to differ, after raising property taxes
Ma'am,
and
that,
everything
I-
else.
at the
And
risk
you don't
of
have to call me
engaging in
ma'am, you
public
know me by
comment on
first
that,
name basis.
Listen, that money is restricted, it's not being used for this, that is restricted money that is used for the new high school construction. It's not being used to buy teachers.
We
or-
haven't got a new high school started either. I haven't seen any, I've heard maybe 3 years just now, and we're looking in the future. And I do know this, I am a taxpayer. My property taxes go, I pay taxes here, I live here, I shop here, I do business here. I do know my taxes go for the school, and I think we don't need to be going into debt. Not when we've come, I haven't complained, not much, I have a little bit.
Madam
Not
Chair,
much.
I had a motion not to lease this. Not to lease, to continue on the way that we've done. Not to enter into any kind of lease agreement.
This is, again, Madam Chairman, if I may add, this is not a motion to enter into a lease or contract. This is simply a motion that we propose. It does not bind this board whatsoever into any agreement. It's simply, even if it's accepted by the board at the RCC Center, you are not bound in any way as a board to enter the contract.
Why
put out the effort?
The last,
People do
the
it.
last time
It's
this
not
was,
free
wait a minute, but the last time this was brought up, if my memory is correct, you asked for permission from the board to talk to them
Yes.
about the possibility of doing that after, and it was pointed out by Mr. McCoy, after you had already
No, sir.
called and discussed it.
Let me clear that up for the board members. Do you see on the agenda where it says discussion and possible action? That's why these things are on the agenda, so that they can be discussed. And if there is any changes in the motion or what's brought up, the board is free to do that, as we have done several times tonight, which is good. But the first word is discussion and possible action. It doesn't mean that we're going to take action.
Well,
Was it
Or that you need to-
discussion and possible action on lease?
But they're voting
All-
to take action.
all I know is there's a motion on the floor. And all I know is there's a second.
Yeah, not to do it.
Okay, I have a motion, I have a second. All in favor, not to move there, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Naturally.
Motion passes. Not to move into the moratorium committee.
Not to enter into any discussion.
Discussion.
Closed issue.
Okay.
Okay, wait, I'm confused. Was it for discussion
Yes.
or
What?
not to do it?
I was not to move
The
in.
motion
His
was
motion
not
was
to
not
do
to move in.
Not to do it,
And
okay,
second.
that's,
Yeah, that's what this,
okay, that's,
Either way, it's not a
Okay.
discussion.
So that's, motion passes not to. Next item is discussion and possible action on Kentucky Department of Education's diagnostic review report.
I have made copies for the board members, and also you should receive electronic if you did not able to access that. I think it's important for the board to be familiar with the diagnostic report results, because it will serve as a guide for us moving forward to work on those improvement opportunities as surveyed by the advanced ed team that came into the district a couple months ago. And as we receive this report, there are out of, Lisa, you may help me out here, 14, there are 6 improvement priorities that we need to focus on.
Yes.
And if you look on page 31, beginning on 31, you'll see the improvement priorities that the district needs to focus on. And we can also schedule a separate work session to study these results if you would care to do so. Also on page 24 and 25, you will see the results and the findings on the improvement priorities for the governing body of the school district as well. So this is going to serve as our guiding document to make our priority improvements as we move forward. And it is important for the board to be familiar with this report.
I think we need a special meeting to sit down and discuss every item, to see where we can go forward.
And we get to go see floating in an imaginary house. So.
I make a motion, yes.
what was that motion, ma'am?
Motion is that we will be in a special meeting and we go through
Oh,
the
yeah.
agenda page by page. Okay, I need a second. Got a motion, a second. All in favor, say aye. Next item is discussion and possible action on dedicating one surplus bus to the Sheldon Park High School JROTC program.
And the recommendation, as we talked about with, when Pete was in here talking about the buses, is to dedicate one bus to the JROTC program for their use.
yeah, I make a motion to do that.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Give them a bus, a JRTC program. Surplus bus.
Only question I have, sir, is that, is it the understanding that they will use it on their trips and things? See? Do they have does one of the guys that'll be up there next year, Do they have a certificate to drive, or will there be a regular district employee drive?
I believe that there has been an indication by the current teacher to gain their CDLs.
Great.
Now, the surplus budget that we will give them will probably one of the ones, hopefully it'll be one of the ones, and I would like for a transportation director to look at it. I'm assuming it's not going to be one of the ones that we're using, you know, the 25 plus the eight that we're going to have for spares. That'll be one of the older buses. And we want to make sure that it's in, that it's in good shape. Even if we're not getting any money for it, that it is a good bus. Not something that we're going to get, well, you know, we can't get anything out of this, it's junk, so we'll give it to the kids. It'll be a good bus.
Well, they asked for this bus, right? Yes. So you made that motion, Gary? Yes.
Is that all right?
Okay, I need a second.
Second.
Okay, have a second. All in favor, say aye. Opposed?
Aye.
That motion carries. Next item is discussion and possible action on creating 2 district computer technician positions, 203-day contracts.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We have one district computer technician position that has never been approved. It was never brought before the board, so one of these 2 positions certainly exists now. The other one I'm asking for will be paid out of CATS funding, which would not be out of the general fund, it'd be paid out of CATS, and we do have enough balance for CATS. Rossi, Tammy?
Yes.
That it would not come out. One of the improvement priorities in the diagnostic reviews is a lack of technology and the use and utilization, rather, of technology in our district, which...
Especially in the research area.
Yeah, especially in the research.
So this is hiring 2 new people?
Well, sir, we have one in central office now, one position, but it was never an approved position by the board. So I would like to get at least that one approved. The current position is a 210-day contract, I think you shared with me, Tammy? Okay, I'm recommending that goes to a 220-day contract.
So we're saying that we've had 2 positions.
No, sir, one.
Position.
We just only had 1 position.
Thank you.
Yes. 1 position created, and the other position hasn't been created.
No, the DTC has always been there.
Right.
Is that right, Tammy? Through what I've been informed of, the other position was not approved by the board. At least that's the information that I got.
Our BTC replaced,
Mike Muncy.
Yes, and then that was, I'm not sure what names I can mention, but the position that was first filled was Mike Muncie's position. Dr. Kessinger,
Had the other position.
but that was not a
That was
position.
not a position.
He
Well,
just held
okay.
those job duties.
And that was abolished, his position.
Okay, so all we gotta do is just create not your position.
But Phil's.
We create his position, so that can be remedied, right? Is that correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Okay, I make a motion that we create that position, and
I would be specific.
Yes.
that the person who occupies that position, of course, somebody's gonna say, you know, here's the thing about, I don't wanna create a job, and then this guy get fired and you hire somebody else. I mean, do you know what I mean?
Somebody's already in the position, so that's.
Okay.
If that's the case.
If that is the case, that's the big question. I don't wanna come up, I don't wanna be, say, okay, you
Somebody
created.
is in the job.
Yeah.
They're not gonna get fired.
Yeah.
That's a different issue.
But should we word it like that?
Well, here's what I think, is a position that somebody is occupying that is not being created, is there a position on the salary schedule Is there somewhere on the
Yes.
salary schedule?
Yes, it's
So it's already on the salary schedule.
In the salary schedule.
So if it's already on the salary schedule, I mean,
You just rename it, what he's
I would-
getting paid
I
for.
I have a question.
Okay.
If this involves me, I already have a number out there that's listed as district technician. And that's what I was questioning the board about, over was a prior salary schedule for that.
Yeah, because you
I don't
mentioned,
want a creation of a new position that's gonna limit me what I'm doing.
well, that was gonna be the next question.
but you've got the salary schedule coming up. in a few
When
meetings.
is that?
It's
I
on the
thought
salary
April.
schedule, whatever you want.
You can do whatever you want with the salary
So when is
schedule.
that salary
With this
schedule?
position,
I thought
you
it
just
was
need to,
Oh, I thought it was
When
April.
is it, sir?
It has to be out in June, 45 days prior to the school year. But we'll have a work session on our budget in May, so we'll be looking at it long before then.
Okay.
Again, to be clear, the one position already exists. I need that to be approved by the board as a position in central office, the one that currently exists on the salary schedule. Because as we look back from the time that person came over here, there was no position to put that person in. It was never created. That person was just brought over here and salary schedule was created and that was it.
For both of these people?
No, for the one that we have now.
I didn't understand how you have a salary schedule for a position that doesn't exist.
well, because somebody at some point in time in the past put a position on the salary schedule that you
Submitted
approved.
it to the board.
And you didn't know that the position was not there, I assume. That's how you would do it.
But that's the reason that it's good
That's a
every
pretty good
year to
assumption.
abolish
That's how a
any
creative
position.
superintendent
Yeah.
would work.
Okay, I wanna
I'm
make,
just trying to fix things, okay?
Okay, I
We
wanna
fix
make-
a lot.
okay, I'll make the motion, and I wanna make sure I'm not dabbling in personnel, that we create this position.
Now, it says two district.
No, we only want one.
You
We don't
you
need
can
two.
approve just one, but we need a second position. and
Is
it
the second position deals more with, well, both positions deal more with the 220 days?
Yes, because that's what we need to, for the coverage of the technology, especially with,
Yes, which are now how many days?
they're 210, I believe the current position is 210. So it would increase the number of days and the annual salary of anyone in those positions.
And the funded.
But your job-
Yes.
I'm too for
The
it.
funding of
Second
the,
position.
Okay, but your job already exists.
yeah.
So what we're doing, we're creating two additional jobs?
No,
You're
you're not.
making one official and creating a new one. There you go.
Okay,
And
but you said that yours already.
both are
Already there.
equal and both
Yes, sir.
are there.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
I was actually trying to tell my colleague here,
straighten me up, Mickey. Sorry.
you're asking me to straighten somebody out.
Oh, yeah.
That's joke all night.
Mickey, would you care to make a motion?
You made the motion, didn't you?
Yeah, I make the motion as long as we are for creating this job, as long as it is occupied by the person that's currently. You can't do that. Is that right, Mike?
Like, if you, are we creating two positions, and we know the titles of those positions?
This one plus one more. What are the positions?
He wants two positions.
Well, that's what we ought to do. Our motion ought to include the name of the positions, and that they are each 220-day positions, and that those positions are presently occupied, but one of them is presently occupied.
No, he says his is 230 days.
This is not his position, has nothing to do with Rossi.
So why are we creating two jobs?
Yes.
Okay. Let's go back to the discussion.
Walk us through the agenda.
Why do we need to
on
do
this
it?
paper?
I'm confused now.
Yeah, I am. I mean, why do we?
I'm confused.
He wants
I
a
thought
new
you had-
person.
I had it at one time,
I
sir.
know.
I did too, but now I'm.
Okay.
Work with
His
you.
position plus create a
Do we
new
need to go into
position.
closed session for this?
No, you don't, you don't.
No. No, we're creating two jobs.
No, you're creating the two allocations. One already has a body in it.
And that
It's
body
not
will stay
going
there,
anywhere.
right?
The body is going to
This is
stay
the
there.
body.
You're giving him a title. You're giving him a title and
Okay,
creating another
yeah.
job. That's what you're doing.
The other one is,
It's an allocation. What I'm asking for the board is to grant another second allocation along with that, so that we can implement the priority improvements that's been identified by our diagnostic review along with the technology on the education grant moving forward.
So it's
I'm all-
creating another position.
Yeah.
So
You're
Yes, ma'am.
hiring a new person for the.
Yes, ma'am.
But keeping his.
But one is already paid for. All I need is the board to approve that allocation as one and give me another allocation.
We don't know if it's
The
needed.
funding of the second allocation is coming from KETS.
Okay,
It's coming from,
It's the fund, Rossi, would you, or Tammy, either one, will explain that, KETS.
Well, we receive certain offers of assistance from this KDE for technical services. And this year, we're on schedule to receive $48,000 as CATS money that can only go toward technology and technology-based salaries.
is this
So-
something that's going to be temporary, or is it going to be something?
I would hope that it would be permanent. Now,
You mean, no,
But
the
you don't know
funding.
for sure.
the funding the funding's been permanent. I mean, it's happened every year, and they've actually increased the way that it is working, so it is more money than it's been in the past. In the past, it's been about $24,000 to $28,000 a year, and going forward, the way the state has restructured the way that they're doing their E-rate, without getting too far in the weeds, you should be looking at larger CATS offers of assistance every year than what we've had in the past.
And
It
we
should
have
stay
made
at
some
least
cuts.
48.
For instance, in our E-rates, we've got rid of all of our cell phones in the district. So, because that portion of the reimbursement is going away.
Yeah.
So
And
the KETS will fund this other position.
here's the thing is that we have about 2,500 users that we support. We have around 2,000 devices, and it's spread out over 8 locations. When you look at comparable districts throughout the state, nobody can cover that sufficiently with 2 technicians. I think we do a pretty good job, but I'm not satisfied with the job we do by any stretch. And that's just the flat out bottom line.
What would the salary be? All of it, all of the kids?
Of the second position would be supported by KETS funding.
Entirely, but I would assume the salary scale rate would be the same
Yes.
or base.
Well,
base,
whatever
yeah,
the experience
I
they
would
want.
think.
Would the first position be getting more money?
Because that person has more experience, yes.
And we've been recommended to do this by KDE, is that what you said?
Well, no.
The second position?
We need
According
to
to
improve
this?
our technology.
This plan right here recommends us to do it. Right, sir?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
How much technology do we have?
About 2,000 devices, and plus you support all the teachers, faculty, and staff.
And one of the big issues with the diagnostic review was that we're not doing enough research with technology.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it seems like something that should happen. I think it'd be a good thing for the district. I really do.
Johnson County has 4 people, Lawrence County has 3 people.
well, Lawrence County is about our size.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So that's, you'd be in tune with the other districts.
Yeah.
Right now,
Okay,
you're not. I mean, 2,000 computers out there.
Because we
How they
would
keep
have
up with
3.
it?
Yeah, and the age of them is,
How much?
not
We would have
replacing with
3,
new
that-
stuff is even worse.
And that's
We
basically
would
what
be
Lawrence
at
County
with,
has.
Yeah.
Lawrence County.
Basically.
Yeah.
So there'll be 3?
Oh, to include Rossi.
Yeah.
To include Rossi. There'll be
There would be
3.
3.
Including Robin?
Including Rossi and just Rossi,
2 positions.
And 2 other positions.
one of which is already filled.
One of which is occupied.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
Well, I
one-
mean, he did mention the
one
other
better
guy's
be filled.
name, so that, that makes me, a little suspect.
Okay, I have a motion.
That's funded by
Okay,
KETS.
yes, uh-huh.
I'll second.
I've got a motion, I got a second. I need, all in favor, say aye.
What's the motion?
The motion is to,
To have
Create
one
two.
position. The
One?
Or, the other
one's
one, as long
like
as
this
the
one.
same person is there.
Uh-huh.
So there'll be 3.
there'll be 3 of them.
Uh-huh.
No.
Okay.
No,
Well,
there's
have
only
two.
two. There is one district technology position allocation for this district. It is a separate salary scale on the schedule. And then there are district computer technicians. That's what we're talking about here tonight, is the two positions. One is already there, it's already being funded. The second one that I'm asking for will be KETS funded.
Okay, I already have a motion, and a
I
second.
have a question.
Yeah, the question, the obvious.
I have a question.
Okay.
My question to this is to the board, is prior to this, even though Dr. Kester held the DTC, I'm all for the board. If they want to hire another technician, that's great. I have no problem with that. But what I'm saying is the salary schedule is what concerns me. It's because the salary schedule that I'm receiving compared to the guy that was before me was labeled the same as what I am, even on the salary schedule that's there, and they don't match. They're different.
Yeah.
That's my question. That's all I'm asking the board to fix. If you want to hire another technician, that's fine. I have no problem with that.
Or we can address that.
That's
Is that correct?
salary.
We can address that, huh?
When you come up
We'll address that.
with the
salary.
budget and
Yes, that's all I'm asking the board to do, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I have a motion, I have a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed?
And one will be paid for out of this other fund.
Yes, the one that I actually want to hire for is going to be KETS funded. Yes, sir.
100%.
Now, let me, I want to.
Yeah, give me back.
I want to give it the suggestion that I think has been brought up here. This is for the beginning of aside from the position that's already occupied. I'll bring the other one on 1 July. That's for the 15-16 school year. I'm not asking to immediately create it now to hire now. It'll be advertised for hire, and that person's contract will begin July 1.
And it's not anything to the general fund.
That is correct.
Oh, I'll vote aye.
I have no problem.
Motion passes.
There's a lot of confusion.
Next item is discussion and possible action on additional 10 extended days in 2005 for the position in Martin County Middle School music teacher position.
This is comparable to what the high school has. I believe the stipend is in $3,000 for the high school. We did create the full-time position. This is the second year now going. We did not, I think we had a small stipend of 500. Is that what it is? 500 in no days, is that right? As I shared with the board through emails for informational purposes, certainly the incumbent has been in, and you've seen both the high school and middle school programs. It's just hard to harness their energy and what they're doing for our kids. But in particular, the middle school and high school will be conducting 3-week band. It's 3-week, is that what it's Brant? Is that ring a bell? A 3-week band summer camp. The high school instructors involved in that, the middle school certainly is a feeder program. I just strongly recommend that we afford our middle school band instructor a stipend and those extra days.
He does a great job.
He does a terrific job. And
He's really
again, we just can't
dedicated.
keep up with the interest, whether it's choir or music. Brent can speak to that. It's just been incredible. I know Mr. Jump has certainly added a lot of energy to that.
Our choir received proficient ratings in their KEMA competition today at Pikeville, and that was a big honor. So Callie was a part of that as well. I think she deserves the applause because she's still here.
That's a right story. Believe me, I'm sure I probably already been watching.
I told my daughter to send her a text a few minutes ago, so check on her. But
I would say that
this.
I'm sorry. Did you say something? The stipend would be for the beginning of the 2015-16 school year, but the extra days would be this year because of the summer camp.
That's what I was going to ask. In fact, the high school instructor, ever who that is, has those days now, and you're wanting to fuse your programs.
Yes,
so therefore you need some continuity.
Yes, and there's 5 existing days, and this takes it up to equivalent, yes. The addition of 10 more takes it to 15, yes, sir.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you.
Okay, I have a motion, I need a second.
I'll second.
Okay, got a motion and a second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item is discussion and possible action on 2015-2016 school calendar year.
I think that was provided to the board. Really, it's identical to the 14-15, but Craig did, and the calendar team committee put in fall break. It is an entire week, fall break.
Oh, that's yours. No, it's not.
Has everybody had a chance to look at the calendar? Have any comments?
Yeah, comment. Would the employees and students, I don't know how much they've been in on this, but, planning, but, I've lost mine, but anyway, I remember seeing that the fall break was a complete week and the spring break was 2 days. Any reason for that?
You mean on this one that
Yeah.
we're looking at?
I'm not looking at it now, but I mean, that's, I think I'm pretty right on that. Isn't the fall break in October a complete week,
Yes.
Monday through
yes.
Friday? And the spring break is Thursday and Friday. Actually, it gives the date of Saturday and Sunday too, but it's not really, I mean, we get that off anyway.
It's a full, it's
Spring break is
9 April, it's a full week.
Spring? Well, I'll be darned.
It's scheduled for a full week.
I stand corrected. Not for the first time either, right, honey? That's all my questions.
Okay. Do I get a motion on it then?
I will make the motion.
Okay, I need a second.
I'll second.
Okay, got a motion and a second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next item is discussion and possible action on resolution to join KSBA in interview in the AEP Kentucky Power in the amount of $1,007.
I'm on.
Man,
You're gonna rescue us.
you were great
Thank you, board
to
guy.
sit through all of this, and we should have had you first.
No, that's
Right.
December the 24th last year, AP has signed an application for rate increases. Attended a meeting about a month ago. We're looking in the avenue of about 16% residential and about 10.3% increase in commercial, which includes us. The thing that concerns me is a lot of those charges, as some of you will look on your bill, you'll see below the line, below your rate charge, you'll have a rate charge for your kilowatt hours, okay? Below the line, as you call it, is things that we can't do anything about. They can set riders or rate charges below the line, pretty much what they want to. January of last year, they put in a asset recovery rate. That was approximately in January about 12%. It is now escalated. In your last month bill, a lot of you all will see 22%. That is to recover them buying the plant in West Virginia.
The Fort Mitchell thing?
Yes, sir.
Okay, yeah.
So what's happening now is they're going back to the PSC and asking to take that, the asset recovery, and put it into the rate increase. Okay? Plus add 16 riders below the line. Now what that is items like closing down the BG1, which is the first reactor, okay? Operational costs of closing it down and everything. And they can pass these charges on to us, and we really can't do anything about it. But those charges are what they're trying to do is put in these riders. Well, we have basically said in school districts we've had enough. Recently, I think a week and a half ago, I spoke at a town meeting in Louisa. And I stood up, and I was the only person there other than 2 economic development guys. And I said, I represent $50 million worth of tax money, and over 10,000 students and adults and faculty and staff. And I said, constantly, we're in the same rate scale as the commercial industry. And I said, I'm begging you, and Vice Chairman Gardner was there, which he called me by name because he knows that I've been to 3 or 4 of the public hearings, even the ones in Frankfurt, to basically speak for schools. So I recognize you, Mr. Salyer, and I hear you. But what happened was, out of that meeting, and I just talked to Ron Wilhite today, the gentleman from AEP, Kentucky Power, came to me after that meeting and said, I hear what you're saying, and we're gonna go back to the table and we're gonna try, because I've been screaming this for 3 years, to try to get a rate just for schools. And he said he's gonna talk to Ron about doing that. So that's the good news, I guess, that we have. But what's happened is, we have to fight them on May the 2nd when it goes to the PSC meeting. Okay, in order to fight them, you have to have lawyers and attorneys and all this kind of stuff to go right down there with the Attorney General's office to dispute this application and this increase, based on what they're trying to get out of this. That costs money. It costs around $15,000 to do that. So what KSBA has done is taken the 17 districts that are around here, the school districts close to AEP in the vicinity of the plant that's down here, and they've appropriated out a portion of that money to try to get a coalition together to be able to fight this rate increase and stuff with them. Martin County's appropriation is $1,007. It depends on the students and all that kind of deal. Like Pike County is over 2,000 or whatever. It's based on the population, you know, of your students. So I'm basically here tonight throwing myself at your all's mercy seat. We really need you all as Martin Countyans to be able to come in with the rest. Right now, there I think is about 80 to 90% out of the 17 districts that jumped aboard. And what this is, it's a one-time shot. You know, this is the money that we pay in order to pay the attorneys to be able to fight this rate increase at the table on May. So that's basically why I'm here tonight, is to beg for you all, for you to be able to come together with an action of a resolution as you as a board from Martin County saying, yes, we want to help KSBA and fight this thing with our other districts and things out there. And you want to be a part of this coalition. What we're going to do is to try to fight these rate increases. So that's why I'm here tonight.
And the KSBA is giving us the money to do that, correct?
No.
Huh?
You're giving it to
No,
them.
you're giving money
To KSBA.
Okay. Yeah, okay, I have no, well,
Yes, sir.
but this is to save us
yeah, I'm for it.
We're going to fight the
rate
rate
increase.
Fight the rate increase, yes, sir. Mr. Court.
Who's your lawyers, man?
I don't know. I don't know.
Joey Childers in on this?
I have
You know
no-
Joey?
No, sir.
Blake?
Well, which I know the Attorney General is very, very much on our side.
Very much, because at the public hearing, they had a representative there the other night in Louise, and they came up and spoke to me afterwards because
Yeah.
Attorney General is definitely on our side.
Yeah, because he's
But
running
here's
for
the
governor.
biggest thing, is my concern for the last, and I've been on this job since 2010. I have constantly screamed because we, as a school district, our peak times are 8 o'clock in the morning till 1:30, you know.
Yeah, that's when
food
the
service.
rates are the highest.
And we are considered a commercial entity in all of our tariff rates, you know, of a factory that runs 365, 24 hours a day. That's how we are looked. So ever since I've been on this job, I've gone all over this crazy state to say we need a tariff just for schools, because we're not like all these other people. And finally, this is the first time I've ever got out of somebody at AEP's mouth that they're going to look into it. I have talked to Vice Chairman Gardner, and he used to be a chairman of a board of education in Fayette County. And we have been trying to do this, but see, PSC cannot create a tariff or an application. It has to be the utility provider bring that to them. We had tried going through a RECC unit to be able to try to get a tariff together. They're willing to do that. But this is the first time ever that AEP or Kentucky Power said, we're going to look into that. And he said, I'm going to call Ron and we're going to get together and try to work this. So there's at least a light at the end of the tunnel, possibly.
Well, I know from talking to people when we were at Frankfurt, talking to folks with Ross Tarrant, I was unaware of the net metering that kind of limits.
Yeah.
And of course, we should get a waiver. I mean, we should, I'm thinking, get some kind of waiver on that. I think somebody has to work with us, or net zero won't work.
Yeah.
And of course, it's worked in Warren County, and it can work here. I think the fact that we see the handwriting on the wall.
Well, I think now they're finally realizing that we're not going to take it anymore.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Basically. We're gonna fight them, and we're trying to do that, and that's why I'm here, is I need your all's help.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion, Chair, if that's in order,
Okay, I have a motion, I need a second.
to join the KSBA in intervening
I'm
in
really
the
under-
AEP Kentucky Power in the amount of $1,007. And if you have a problem with it, I'll pay the $7 right now.
I'll second his motion, whatever he
Are they
says.
wanting $1,000?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am, yeah. That's the county share out of the, it's $15,000 to get the attorneys and all that to be able to set the table. And what happens is, they divided it up based on student population out of those 17 districts. And the portion based on our district here in Martin County is $1,007.
I feel it's the best money we've spent tonight.
Okay, I've got a motion, I have a second, I need a vote, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, motion carries.
Thank you all.
Our next item is discuss and possible action on entering closed session to discuss property acquisition IAW KRS 61.10.
Madam Chair, if I may suggest for the board's consideration that we move item 30, reports, up prior to our closed session so that our administrative staff reports can be given, namely our finance report, and then those folks could be turned loose.
Didn't we kind of agree that we were looking at that as a,
That was the other one.
That was the other one, that was the next one, huh?
You got two. This is property session. This one is 26.
On our
Sorry.
reports, administrative staff reports, Martin County Education Association reports, and school reports.
yeah.
Okay.
I did not do a PowerPoint this afternoon. We are looking at budgets for this evening. We're looking at budgets the next couple of months or the next month, so I'm just going to give you some updates. And this is our general fund. And if you will look at the balance sheet, you will see the bottom number says $3,255,15.52. Now this is period 10 on our reports. When our tax money came in Friday, I went ahead and posted those just so that you'll see a snapshot of what is current. Now, the actual balance though, if you'll see the middle part of the liabilities, it'll be subtracted from the $3,255,000. So our actual fund balance is $2,991,303.17. That's current. And that is such an improvement. And every administrator and board thought to make good decisions. So I'm not the least bit concerned about our ending balance. As I said once before to the board, if we operate a little differently and look beyond 1 year and look into the new year, there is where the board needs to look. Now, the cream colored paper that I gave out shows you revenues for the current year. And it shows you a comparison. This is just for your information for 2011 or 2012 fiscal year, 13, 14, and current 15. So you can see our current year budget to the far right. And then current year actuals is what we have received to date. The ones that are in bold, some are pleasant surprises because that is not what we saw coming up in this year. So when you look at our franchise tax at current, it's $404,611. So we have met our budgeted items, and of course budgeted items are only estimates of what could possibly happen. That's what a budget is. You look at trends and you make an estimated guess. Delinquent property taxes came in more. We're already currently $60,000 more than what we have budgeted. We still haven't motor vehicles, but we still have a couple of months left into this fiscal year. On mine minerals is absolutely a surprise.
How did that change?
have no idea. But are we gonna question it? No, we're just glad
No, I
we
mean, I
received
just-
these.
no, I
Yes,
was thinking-
yes.
$300, so.
But if you take a look at the utility tax, we've taken a hit.
Yeah.
And so the surplus that we have achieved in the other areas of revenue is gonna offset the hit we have in our utility tax. So just making you aware, also our gas tax came up. And I did check with what's estimated to be received going forward, and the majority of these have already been received. You know, the majority of the revenue from these taxes have been received. Our seat was at first estimated that state would cut us $32,000, but final seat numbers came in, so they only cut us $12,000, but it was a cut. Our property taxes, I'm not sure, I think they're gonna collect until May the 10th. It could have been June the 10th, I was over there today, I have that date, and I can share it with you as we do our work sessions and our budget sessions.
So a general property tax should be about, if they're still collecting.
They're gonna collect for another month to 6 weeks. And then it goes to the clerk's office as delinquent taxes. So this is just to give you some information and inform you of what's happening currently. And we can discuss more in detail as Mr. Meadows is going to have a special session, a work session, and we can discuss it. And so between now and then, if you have any questions or you want more information, just share with Mr. Meadows and he'll share with you.
So all in all, we're in pretty good shape.
I estimate if our revenue continues to come in and our expenses are continued to be monitored closely, and they always have been for the past couple of years, that we at least $1 million. So the ending balance this year is not anything that I think the board needs to be concerned with. It's going into the new year, looking at expenses, and we can discuss that at our work session as a tentative budget is discussed, and a working budget will be in September.
Yeah.
Okay?
Thank you, Tammy.
You're welcome.
Now, we'll go into discussion and possible action on entering closed session to discuss property acquisition, IWKRS 618.
Those are people with new business.
Yes, can we do something?
I thought, well, yeah, we got, do we have any other new business?
Martin County Education Association.
Let me do it. This is concerning our bus drivers. It's not really KEA. This is a disciplinary problems that the bus drivers are having.
Just say, can we move the new business before I would suggest that the board move
Move
the
that.
new business.
Yes.
So let's
New
move new
business,
business.
okay. I think there was 2 or 3 meetings ago, we
Yeah.
discussed the disciplinary problems that bus drivers have, and it continues. Sometimes they're worse, sometimes they're okay. But no one knew what the procedures were. So what I did, I made you copies. I just wanted to give them to you to overview. Mr. James, where you left, is working on our problems and trying to help us. But this is the conduct for the bus, and this is the reports that the bus drivers fill out to turn in their problem children for help and support with discipline. Just wanted to give it to you for your information, because, like I said, no one was aware on how it was supposed to work. I thought you would have one. I'm sorry.
Policies, procedures, memorized.
I thought you would. So, yeah, this is the report that the bus driver fills out and turns into the principal.
So you as a bus driver get a copy of this back after you have the present along with the present action taken?
That's the way it's supposed to happen,
Okay.
yes. That's the way it's supposed to happen,
Oh.
but it's not happening.
Oh.
So
That was the
what's
discussion,
the concern here?
that we have more support and that we have kids, problem children that are causing our the rest of our children to be in safety hazards. When the children are so out of control and we're confined and we ride them up and
What
they're back on the bus. Same situation over and over and over.
On the bus. I mean, after they act up, they're on the bus again.
Yes.
Nothing done to them.
Well,
You got,
And you say sometimes you don't even get the, not receipt, but you don't even get the confirmation.
no, we
that
don't know what's
something's-
happening exactly.
We don't know
Can you
how many
explain
days
the
they're kicked off or how many days, they just show back up on the bus and we have no idea that they're coming back on the
so you're
bus.
driving down the road with 70 kids and you got one kid that acts up and he creates a hazard for every other kid.
The other 60 kids or 70
Give me
kids that
the-
you got on the bus.
Can you give the
yes.
board how you understand the process for, let's say that, Steve's on your bus and, which is entirely possible, and he's a consistent misbehaving, he's in trouble all the time, so let's say I threw paper out the window, I'm sure that would be a write-up if you saw that.
On my bus personally, it's on there. We write it in.
So
I give them 3 warnings and then I write them
Okay,
up.
share with the board the standard process for everyone, or is there consistent, do you think, from the bus drivers? What happens to this? Tell us what happens to this,
We turn this into the high school or the elementary school, whatever school.
and then what happens to it?
The principal takes care of it.
And do you
should,
get,
should send us a copy back. And after a number of repeated offenses, they should be kicked off the bus.
does that have that on here?
Yes.
When he comes back to you,
When we get them back, yes, they fill in their part. There's a part for the drivers to put in their comments. We check everything, put in our comment, and then below here, the principals or whoever fills it in.
and you're
we
getting
sign.
those back?
No.
Okay, that's what I'm getting to, so we're in
And
the
like I said,
process.
we're working on that problem.
Okay,
I'm not here to complain. I
No,
just
no,
want to inform.
absolutely not. I just want to get the process down here, so
Yeah.
you're not getting them back. And
Right.
let's say it is part of the process is that when you do get it back, you don't, you feel that it may not be strict enough or anything, or is there
At
anything?
times it is not.
Okay,
Most of, like I said, we do not write these kids up for hopping out of their seat.
sure.
And this and that. It has to be pretty bad for us to write it
Now,
up and repeat it.
what's Larry doing you mentioned Larry James, what's he doing to help fix the problem?
He's looking into it, I guess discussing it with the principals, and we're having meetings, and
Do you see any progress in that,
not yet,
that we're making?
not yet.
Well, I was
Women?
threatened and they was kicked off for 3 days.
I'm sorry?
I said, I was threatened and they was kicked off just for 3 days and I didn't even know they was coming back on my bus. They supposed to have been kicked off for the rest of the year, but they showed back up.
We
And
had
I
a
still have not
child
got a
that
report.
threatened to blow her brains out.
I was gonna say,
My effing brains out. Yes. And the boy's 19 years old. And he was back on my bus within 3 days. That's all that Dr. Langley kicked him out for.
Well, that's a problem.
So, 3 days,
Tell me about
a 3-day suspension for for what he said?
Yes.
They're to mark each thing on that list, as you can see, there's a list up there. And out from it, when it comes to whatever child they're turning in for whatever behavior they're turning, they mark the behaviors that child has done down through there. Then they write a comment in about
What they say
what the driver saw and what happened. And then they turn it into the principal. The principal is supposed to look at it, do his discipline, write in his comments and stuff, and give a copy back to the driver, so the driver will know if that child has been kicked off the bus, when it's supposed to come back, okay? They're saying that these are not being given back, so these kids come back to get on the bus, and they don't know if they're supposed to let them back on the bus, if they're supposed to be on the bus, because they don't know.
Okay, you say this guy threatened you at 19 years old? Told you that he would blow your effing head
blow my
off?
effing brains out.
19 years old?
Yep.
Well, he should be.
There should have been police action.
Yeah, they should have been
No,
police
it was
action.
3 days, suspension the boy got.
We talked to the sheriff too.
Yeah, but then I ended up kicking him off my bus. I said, he's not getting back on my bus.
Did you report it to the sheriff?
No.
Didn't you call the deputy to come around?
Well, they tried to get a deputy to ride with me, and they
Well,
was
of course,
too
he's not
busy.
gonna do anything for the deputies on there,
That's what
but if he threatened to blow your effing head off, is that, ain't that third degree or something, second degree, terroristic threatening or whatever?
That's what it is.
Huh?
Yes, it may even be a higher offense.
Higher offense than that, yeah, that's what I'm
Involves
thinking.
the
Since
school
it's 19
employee.
years old, I wouldn't.
We get, but we all, I mean.
It's as if we're lying.
And
It's
Miss-
like they don't
When we
believe
write
us.
down stuff, it's not like we.
And she doesn't have a camera on.
And then I have been threatened to be smacked and stuff that was on another. My kids got off of my bus and got on her bus and threatened me on her bus, so she had to write him up, and he was back on her bus. And we still have not got the papers to show the disciplines that they supposed to got. But
We
then they
have
get on
had-
my bus at high school, and I said, hold on, you're getting off my bus, you're not riding my bus.
We have had a lot of trouble, and not Mr. Hank,
You're the only
middle
one
school
here.
students and a lot of high school students with cursing the driver, will not obey rules. They just, you ask them, they'll get on the bus. I drive every evening, so I can vouch for middle school from there to here, because I do that run every evening. Okay? I get these kids on the bus. When we got 3 buses, it is crowded, but when we got 4 buses, it's not bad. But these kids get on there, and if you tell them to sit down, calm down, quit screaming, quit throwing paper wads,
Foul language.
they get mad at you. They'll start cussing, and then they'll start clapping their hands and y'all yelling. And I stopped the bus one day. I said, "Why are you all doing that?" Well, we were told we could. So now that's some of the answers I get, Mr.
Do they do this in front of younger kids?
Yes, I have little tiny, we have it from
First grade to
kindergarten up to the 12th grade. And the foulness on some of these kids' mouth is outrageous.
It's horrible.
And I have begged for somebody to ride my bus and stuff, which everybody's been busy, they cannot ride
I
with me.
can't get time to ride because we drive.
So I just
every
end up
day,
kicking them
so.
off. I personally kicked them off myself, because I told them they're not. Because I got little tinies and I'm not having the filth on there with them.
Do you feel comfortable in calling law enforcement when these things happen?
I have.
Oh, well, I mean, you should, by policy, you're
Right.
supposed to. That's what I'm saying, do you feel comfortable in calling law enforcement when you feel that your safety or the safety of the kids on your bus is being jeopardized? Do you feel comfortable?
Oh, I had brought them back to the high school. I mean,
Well,
I had
no,
brought
no,
them and
no.
had the deputy
Do you
get
feel
on my
comfortable
bus.
in calling law enforcement where you are? Because according to policy, what I would expect, if a driver feels and determines that there is a rider or a student who poses a danger
Yeah,
to
I should have pulled off
themselves, to
the
you
call.
or others, then you need to call myself or my designee, Larry James, or the principal, and law enforcement. You need to call law enforcement. To
Yeah,
have
I
them
agree. I
stop the
should have
bus,
pulled off,
have them
but-
come and get it and put that child off the bus. You can do that.
Were you aware that you ought to do that?
She probably wasn't because she's a much newer driver,
Yeah.
okay?
But were you all aware of it?
Yes.
Okay,
And
were
I
you aware
wish
of it?
she had
I
hollered
just did it
told
this
me,
year.
I would have pulled off and called for her.
Okay.
I wasn't aware of it until, I guess, first year.
Okay.
This is the first year that I've done it. And in past years, my
And
years have been
certainly, we're
worse.
not, the policy is not directed at putting a student off of a bus in the middle of nowhere.
Right.
We're not gonna put them in greater danger. However, you need to stop somewhere and that child needs to get off the bus, sit there with that child, but you need to contact law enforcement.
Well, they can't sit there with that child if they got other kids on the bus, you can't do that.
You have to.
Well, you have to.
You have to, you can't leave them.
Okay,
My
but-
situation, the
but-
kid got off the bus and
No,
got
you
killed.
know, even wherever you go to stop, you can sit with the child, of course, if you got a bus full of kids, you gotta sit with that child, you gotta sit with them too, until law enforcement gets there.
But make sure that every bus driver in this county knows that they have the authority to do, not only do they have the authority to call the law enforcement, but it is their duty
Yeah, it
to
is.
call law enforcement, because this 1 or 2 or 3 kids are endangering the lives of all of you.
Exactly,
You can't do that.
right.
And I think it's a change in culture, it's a need for a change in
Yeah,
culture,
yeah.
because if you got 10 kids doing this, then you can't just say, okay, I'm gonna call the cops because 10 kids are clapping.
No, that's just something that.
You know, but it still is the same kind of thing, it's like they have no respect for bus drivers.
No, they don't.
They don't, they do not.
And in years past, we were told, tolerate them, get them home, we'll deal with them tomorrow.
Years past.
In years past, I have not been told that.
You may not be able to get them home or anybody else home.
Thank you for adding that.
I have not been told that lately, but yes. In my worst years, I was told to tolerate them and get them home.
Well, I'd say it's hard to break a culture, but, you know, I would not put up the
No.
kid telling me he's gonna blow my effing head off. He'd get off the bus then. Especially if he's 19, I'd drop him off and leave him,
Well, I should have, but.
because he's an adult.
I don't know how
It ain't
much
just.
travel teachers have at school with them, but at least at school, they can send their kids to the office or somewhere.
Sometimes that works.
But there is a problem with
We
games,
don't have that
games in the
Yeah.
classroom.
Okay, we don't have that option.
I just wanted to make you aware, I had not even
I'm
read
a
these
driver trainer
policies
and I
until
have been for
today.
years, and
Okay.
I
The whole
mean, it
thing.
gets harder to deal
Do
with.
you think we're making progress with Larry working with you and the principals? Do you think we're making incremental progress at least with?
Larry Workman.
Larry James, Mr. James.
Working.
Working with us.
Working. Do you think
Well, I think
progress
that's why
is
they're
being made?
here, is that they're not making progress.
Not fast enough, but there has been progress made since Mr. James took over.
Okay.
There has been small changes made. And he does listen to us, he talks to us.
And he does ride?
He has.
Oh, he's come on there and he's jumped onto them and everything and stuff, but.
And he rides the buses too sometimes. I think
Every
when the
once
driver
in a
asks
while.
for a ride.
Yeah, but he
well,
needs the help of everybody.
It's
He does.
okay as long as he's on there, but
Right,
when he gets
I
back out, you
understand.
go.
We've got a 6A football coach now too. We can put both of them on there.
Hey,
And like I said, we got some, I think there was a question, she doesn't have a camera on her bus. I would not get on that bus of
And
hers
to
without a
that
camera.
board, our safety money that we've used, since I've gotten here, it used to go towards salary, and we've removed that. It all goes toward, last year, I think we spent $34,000 on school cameras, security systems, but this year, we fully intend on equipping our buses with cameras. And just to go one step forward, because it presents a liability if we have some buses with cameras and others we don't. It's a liability.
Well, the problem with the cameras is it's not that, we've got a camera we can put on there, but it takes a mechanic at least 2 days to get that thing installed. Because
To
they have
install a new camera, right?
Right, because they have to put it on
It
the
does.
front, on the back, put all these panels off, run all this wiring,
Yes.
and then program it.
So it's a summer job.
Yeah.
Yes.
This summer would be a fine job.
Yes.
You wouldn't.
Like I said, I didn't want to call
It
Elizabeth, I
will
just
be.
wanted to give you guys
Somebody ride with
information.
me.
Sure.
If I could just add, the students, not just students causing problems, but 3 times since I've been at Warfield, since last year, I've had a parent stop a bus driving on the road.
Oh, yeah,
They stop a bus,
Yes.
You get that
which I
constantly.
called the police all 3 times.
Well, it's against the law for a parent to step foot
But
on the
stop,
bus.
I mean, just stop a bus, because they were mad at another kid on the bus, so. And,
What we need here is a little prosecution.
yes, nothing was done either. I called the police, but they did talk to them, and that was it. Something more should have been done. That's terroristic threatening, that's endangering the lives of every kid on that bus and every adult.
Something like that, you're about that far from making CNN, and not the good kind.
And I myself had to ride the bus the next day because nothing was done, and get off the bus at Dempsey Housing and tell the people they not to do it again. I'd do it myself.
I think I have found the new, to borrow a cliche, sheriff in town has been very responsive to our needs this year.
I haven't had a call yet.
And that's not
Well, yeah.
the case for any
Call them a
previous.
lot.
I didn't know what their duties were and their responsibilities, if they were overtasked. I'm just saying that Sheriff Kirk has been extremely responsive and vigilant with his deputies and himself of responding to our needs. I don't think.
Well, another thing, Mr. Meadows, is they turn these students in, be it high school, be it middle school. I don't think it really happened at elementary, but these 2 levels of school. They turn these, well, I haven't had trouble with it, but it may happen, I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
But they turn these students in. Okay, they ask these students, did you do this?
Yeah,
Of course, these students are going to say, no, I didn't do this. They're lying on me. They're lying on me. Hey, believe that bus driver. That bus driver is not gonna write that child up and put it in if it's not telling the truth.
Well, our,
May I speak?
sure, Brent, go ahead, but let me just say, you know, if a bus driver gives me a report, I mean, I'm gonna err on the side of caution and safety and believe the bus driver. I'm not gonna try to investigate who's telling the truth here. And I'm sure that most administrators are gonna see a pattern, whether it's students or whether it's employees, if there's a pattern of, you know, deception or whatever, to get a kid that you don't like off the bus. That's what you're being accused of by a kid or a parent. You just don't like my kid, you hate my kid.
Well,
And guys,
everybody,
listen, that's in the classroom too, you know that.
everybody likes to believe that their child tells the truth.
Well, of
I know
course.
I do.
I always tell the
But
truth.
I can't, well, I do too, but you know, you can't, it don't happen that way.
Brent?
First of all, we admire you. I have told you all that before. May not show it enough. I know I've made the statement, made it today to Nadine. Wouldn't do your job. I wouldn't get on the bus and put 60 young'uns behind me for nothing, prefer them in front of me. But nonetheless, we have to have somebody that does it. Several issues, I will tell you that we must, as administration, do a better job handing you the slips back. If that had been done properly, I don't think we would be here today, because you would see that every slip that you have turned into us has been dealt with. Now, you know, I don't do the discipline as much in my building as I used to do, but the buck stops with me. So this is no throw Greg Crum under the bus. If there is an issue, it comes to me, and that's where it lies at. But I assure you, and I would recommend Larry James or Mr. Meadows or anybody that would like to come and pull every single bus slip that I have. There's nothing hidden. They can look at every write-up. Now the problem therein lies again, we haven't done a great job of getting them back in your all's hands. I admit that. And Mr. Crum and I actually had a discussion today on that matter, that has to be, that's communication. That stops a lot of this right here of thinking that there's not things that are being done. As far as how discipline goes, you all have it right in front of you. It's very clear policy. There is a first time write-up unless it is of a greater offense, it is a warning. Second time write-up, unless it is of a greater offense, the X marks will indicate where that lies, the level that it lies, the amount of days that it lies. And is a in-school type discipline and a parent notification. Then it goes from a 3 to a 5 to a 10 to an expulsion. If you were to pull my data, and I did it, I had more bus suspensions and in-school discipline than anything in my building. Now that's not a throw off on these bus drivers, please take that, because I do not mean it that way. Their buses are extremely loaded. Their runs are very difficult. Kids can be very disrespectful. I understand that completely, guys. But to say that things aren't being done is a misnomer. The problem lies, they don't know what's being done, and that is a problem.
Sure, we don't.
So, I mean, that is an issue that I believe that will correct this very, 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 very quickly, very quickly. And I think that would be the greatest thing for them, because they would then also be able to question me or whoever the administration was that gave it to them, as if the case was that we did something incorrectly as far as policy. But it's followed very closely. Now, there are instances maybe where you might receive multiple, that you might not deal with it as a, 1, 2, 3, you're off the bus, because of you've never given opportunity for the discipline to work. And that's the whole process with discipline. My hopes is that it does work, that we never have to go to that route step above. And yes, we do ask kids. That's due process. This counselor would be able to tell you we have to give due process. And what they get back on the bus and say to the bus drivers, I can only imagine about what they say. And I guarantee you, just as they tell us, 9 times out of 10, it's probably not the truth what they tell you. And I would hope that every bus driver in this district would never think that any administration, but I can speak namely for myself, has ever told a kid not to worry about you all, or not to respect you all, or it doesn't matter what's written up. I've even had it told to me that they said that we threw it away. I've never thrown one away in my life that I can recall of, and I hate that. But nonetheless, problem can be fixed by us getting those things back to you all.
Like I said, I wouldn't point
And that would help you all tremendously, because then you would know, you could ask us point blank right then, don't you think, Mr. Haynes, that should have been more than that? And we can have a discussion right then. But I do agree that that can be fixed, I think it will help.
Well, the reason
But we appreciate you guys. I mean, don't ever think we don't, because most of those kids that you all, they're not gonna come to our buildings to be educated unless you bring them to us. So, you know, we do appreciate you.
The reason I brought it up is, I'm the one, my drivers come to me and they're talking about it, they're complaining, I hear their complaint.
Understand that?
And I stand behind them, because I don't believe that we've got a driver that would turn a child in if it was being good,
Understand that?
you know.
And we stop and think, we see these kids, we know if we write them up, they're probably not gonna be in school, because their parents are not gonna bring them.
I called
We know the ones that are and aren't, and we put up with them and try to do what we can.
I ended up calling the parents myself, talking to them, asking, please, you gotta help me out here. And
I usually do that, we usually do
every
that
kid I got
before
on
we
my
talk
bus
to
has got
principals.
ADD.
I wish we
Seriously,
had more
every parent I
drivers.
call, that's what the first thing they tell me.
More drivers, so we wouldn't be so crowded, but you can't get people to work. We've advertised, we've done everything, so if y'all know anybody be good, I'd be willing to train them.
Well, until this culture changes, I don't know how many people you will get that want your job.
That's exactly right.
I just want you to be aware.
We're
And like I said, a lot of those procedures, I didn't know. I didn't know I was allowed, I was told I wasn't allowed to put them off the bus anywhere. And I wouldn't put them out in the middle of the road, but I would take them back to school, you know, or something.
Or something.
So that was a little informative for me.
Also, it's, you know, as I'm looking at the positive, reminded of also children who are identified with special needs, so there's also some other considerations.
Yes.
But I would hope that, and I'll speak to Larry tomorrow, see what the status is for myself, but, you know, I would hope as we move forward, we can, like Brent said, we just need to communicate more.
Like I said, I told Larry I was gonna give you guys this, because
Is that
I
why
said
you
it's no
left?
further action.
Is that why you left? You ran him off?
I probably, but I didn't want him to think I was complaining
No,
about
no,
him
no.
or any of the principals. It's just that nobody knew what the procedures were for this one for the bus drivers at the board meeting, what, 3 months ago or something? 'Cause I missed the last one.
All right, we missed you.
I know you did.
You doing all right? Good to have you back. Really, good to have you back.
Write that down. And put that in the minutes, Carrie.
A little item on new business before we go into executive session. I had asked in January, my initial meeting, that a meeting between the board and the health department, especially the director of the health department, might be held to talk about monies and the need of a nurse full-time at the high school. And you'd said something, sir, about having a work session on it so that all of us could be here to listen. And and in February, I forgot to ask you about it, but now, have you made that, have you talked to him, sir?
We have, Larry and I went and met with the director, and I think we've got a good path going forward. I've asked him to put that in a proposal, send it to us for the board to consider and speak to them about it.
Okay, so you met with him?
Yes. I believe it was. Yes. So we're making progress.
Okay, well, as soon as we need to, if you need us to sit in,
Yes, sir.
holler.
Certainly will.
That's all for me. Thank you.
I'd just like to make one comment before we go into closed session as far as an alternative school. Just had one question to ask, and of course I know I'm going to get accused as far as wasting district money, but I've had some teachers and others come to me as far as space at the high school, concern for space. So when they come again, what should I say? What we're doing is try to find, is there any way we can remedy as far as the space? I said, well, we're crowded in, so 3 classrooms, of course, ROTC, JKG, and maybe another or 2.
I don't think 8 kids are gonna pack.
I would recommend doing a cost analysis
On, what would you like to
on
see?
what the cost would be to get I've heard, how overcrowded it is and how all this other number is coming up. Maybe get a cost analysis on how much I don't know what you all call, I call it a double wide, what do you call it, the extra classroom, a modular? How much buying something like that would be for 3 years, as opposed to paying, I sat here and figured it out, I'm thinking 22,500 for the 3 years that we would be.
You know, the problem is that we had them and we declared them as surplus, so we already had them and got rid of them.
Well, that's our fault, so that's not the kids' fault.
Huh?
That's not the kids, I mean, that's.
Well, it's not the kids' fault, but it's.
That's the only thing, that's the reason I'm not trying to waste district money, I want you to know that. As a matter of fact, we came in, well, we come in, there's projected to be $900,000 in the red by the end of the fiscal year, I think.
On the issue, we under new business, we're just discussing. The issue of those surplus, I think the board, on my recommendation, and we discussed this, the board voted 4-1 to surplus those.
Yeah.
And it was done so because, again, KBE does not recommend, they do not, they do not smile very well, even on a temporary basis. It's got to be under an emergency basis, as far as I understand, Mike, you may know more about than I do, but, which I'm sure you do, but it's only on a temporary basis under emergency conditions that you can use these. We did not anticipate that we would need the modular units, but they did benefit us. We took every dime that was, that we got on those surplus units and bought new furniture for the high school immediately. So it was used, the proceeds were used immediately for those items. All, I think it was, what, 8,000, 12,000, something like that, maybe 12,000 for the modular units. But every dime was spent immediately on furniture, which was desperately needed for the high school. There was desk over there that Bobby Allen said he sat in when he was in school. So.
Well, can we, Madam Chair, can we have about a 5-minute break before we go into executive session?
Well, to answer the question of Mr. Horowitz' concern, yes, we do need the space. We don't have those modular units. We go back and get them over again, but we do need the space. We did not anticipate that 2 years ago. But we certainly
So that's the reason, that's the main reason I was looking.
We have to look at 8 students. 8 students at the cost of around $1,000 a month.
Most is 8 students, the most it ever had.
If we've got 8 students, that's just.
Well, again, I'm trying to advocate, I just want to inform the board of the anticipated need of it. I mean, even when we're talking about an 18, 19-year-old student on a bus, before we expel them, we want to consider an alternative setting for them.
You know, I think we're rehashing a particular item that has already been discussed. And
I just want to make myself clear the reason I voted. Like I say, I'm not trying to waste money, but that was the reason I voted. No, so we're finished with this full time.
Can we have a 5-minute recess? Right. Wait.
We need a motion to go into closed session, first 10 o'clock. I need a motion to go enter closed session.
Before we take a recess? A 5-minute?
While we're getting into closed session, you don't smoke, okay? I need that motion.
I'm gonna go out and burn one. I've been here 5 hours. I mean, that's,
Okay, I have a motion. I need a second. I'll second it. All in favor going into closed session, say aye.
is there, Mr. Schmidt, would there be a problem with me exiting the closed session to take a break?
I won't say a word to you.
We'll wait on you for 5 minutes.
Okay, I'm sorry.
3 minutes. Second.
I'll say,
Okay, everybody in favor say aye.
aye.
Table. Closed session.
Okay, I need a motion to close to table the, let me see if I have a word.
So litigation property?
Okay, superintendent's evaluation.
Oh, yeah, we can table that.
I need a motion.
Oh, I'll make a motion.
Okay, I need a second. I need a second. I need a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
stay here. You kept us here this long. Okay, I need a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion.
Need a second?
Second.
On favor, say aye.
Aye.
You'll get home just in time to shower and go to work.